Chapter 1358, Warning. When the Crown Prince received the news, the imperial edict had already been issued, leaving him seething with anger. In his East Palace study, he vented his frustration through an explosive outburst. Princess Consort and the others fell silent, apprehensive of his fury. With each passing year, the Crown Prince had grown more composed and dignified. It had been many years since his temper had flared in such a manner. Unable to contain his emotions any longer and unwilling to concede defeat, the Crown Prince decided to go to the court and plead with the Emperor to rescind the order. "Father," he implored, "Lord Qiao is still young and has never undertaken such a responsibility before. I believe it would be more appropriate to dispatch an experienced official as the marriage envoy. Please reconsider, Father." Throughout all these years, the Crown Prince had never contested any of the Emperor's decisions. However, his appeal didn't elicit a positive response. Instead, it seemed to irritate the Emperor, who had always been stern. His countenance darkened, and he retorted coldly, "Is my imperial edict a matter to be trifled with, subject to change at a whim? I have my own reasons for this decision, Crown Prince, and there is no need for further discussion. Your Highness, simply perform your duties. You need not inquire further about my intentions." These words left the Crown Prince trembling with trepidation. How could he dare utter another word? He respectfully bowed and withdrew. Upon discreet inquiry, the Crown Prince learned that honored Princess Mei and Taoist Shangzhen had instigated his father to appoint Xiao Yunduan as the envoy. They had done so to spite him, as it was his actions that had indirectly implicated Xiao Yunduan. The Crown Prince was incensed. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan remained unaware of this. However, the following day, when the Crown Prince summoned Xiao Yunduan, he discovered that Xiao Yunduan was already privy to the situation. A heavy silence hung between them. With a guilt-ridden expression and a bitter smile, the Crown Prince confessed, "I have inadvertently drawn Officer Xiao into this predicament. I never anticipated the vehement opposition against Officer Xiao, nor did I expect my father to acquiesce. I beseeched my father to retract the order, but my efforts were in vain. I fear Officer Xiao will have to embark on this journey." Xiao Yunduan cast a surprised glance at the Crown Prince. After the Emperor had issued the decree, the Crown Prince had gone so far as to plead his case directly with the Emperor, a highly unusual move for him. "What else can I say, Crown Prince?" Xiao Yunduan smiled warmly. "In truth, I am genuinely eager to experience the customs of Qingdi. Such an opportunity is a rare privilege. Furthermore, I will feel more at ease accompanying Princess Shuangfu." Unspoken between them was the knowledge that honored Princess Mei, the fourth prince, and their allies had seethed with jealousy upon witnessing the Emperor's praise of the Crown Prince. Given Xiao Yunduan's significant role in this matter, they would seize any opportunity to target him. The Crown Prince felt reassured after hearing Xiao Yunduan's words. He sighed, saying, "You are indeed Officer Xiao, with knowledge beyond that of ordinary individuals. Rest assured, I won't expose you to danger. I will arrange for someone to protect you. Moreover, as a marriage envoy, I doubt Qingdi would dare to act rudely. Nonetheless, the road ahead is long, and the waters are deep. No one can predict what may transpire along the way. Officer Xiao, you must be prepared. If you require anything, Officer Xiao, do not hesitate to inform me." "Thank you, Crown Prince." Xiao Yunduan nodded in appreciation. "I will contemplate my preparations upon my return, and I will be ready for any eventuality." The Crown Prince nodded in return, determination in his eyes. "Officer Xiao, I trust you will return safely." Chapter 1359, Marriage Envoy. Xiao Yunduan came to pay his respects, with an additional purpose of delivering the New Year's money to the Crown Prince. 3 banknotes, each worth 10,000 taels, were discreetly placed in his arms. Despite the unexpected turn of events, the Crown Prince did not forget the matter at hand. He carefully arranged the banknotes on the table and said, "Officer Xiao, please don't hesitate to share your thoughts with me." "Certainly, Crown Prince." Xiao Yunduan didn't oppose the idea of being a marriage envoy. However, he was concerned about how to break the news to his wife. If his wife were to find out, she would undoubtedly be anxious. How could he bear to see her worried? Following that night, Xiao Yunduan took Qiao Xian aside and engaged in a heartfelt conversation. Sensing a positive atmosphere, he eventually broached the topic of his upcoming journey to escort Princess Shuangfu to Qingdi after the new year. The wedding date has been set. On the 8th of March next year, the Prince of Qingdi will depart for Qingdi, with the princess accompanying him. Please don't fret, my dear. I will certainly return to the capital in no more than half a year. During the days I'm away, if you're uncomfortable staying in the capital, I'll make all the necessary arrangements for you, whether you wish to go to Jiangnan or return home. Xiao Yunduan remained oblivious to the fact that his wife had been silently listening, without uttering a single word. His surprise was evident. Why was his wife so composed in response to such unexpected news? Something didn't seem right. It was very unusual. Wife, are you? Had she been rendered speechless by fear? Qiao Xian blinked, then peered up at him, her tone slightly irritated. Are you going to send off Princess Shuangfu? Yeah, that's all. You're going to escort the princess to Qingdi for her wedding, and you'll be gone for at least half a year? Qiao Xian inquired. Yes, but I will do my utmost to return as soon as possible. After all, parting from his wife was something he found unbearable. This topic was quite disheartening. He had just brought it up, and the journey was still some distance away, yet he already felt reluctant. The fourth prince and the others were truly despicable. If they had any grievances, they could have directly approached the crown prince. What gave them the right to target him? Qiao Xian sighed gloomily, but this journey will take you through many mountains and rivers, and the road is long. Who knows what challenges may arise along the way? If you encounter delays and aren't able to return, I will be stranded, whether in the capital, the south, or at home. I can't go home, as my mother would inquire, and I wouldn't dare to deceive her. If I reveal the truth, both my mother and my family will worry. Xiao Yunduan sighed in response. I understand and I'm sorry. Qiao Xian softly remarked. If you don't want me to endure this, that's acceptable too. Xiao Yunduan was taken aback. Of course I don't want you to suffer. You've said it. Of course, he couldn't bear to see his wife distressed, so why would he want to wrong her? However, for some reason, his wife's words seemed to carry a different meaning. All right. Qiao Xian smiled, embracing him and speaking sweetly. I'm coming with you. Wait, what? Wife, you promised not to let me suffer. You can't break your promise. Sweetheart, this is the only way. Xiao Yunduan found himself torn between amusement and exasperation. However, Qiao Xian didn't view it as a significant issue. I'll be there, and Princess Shuangfu will have someone to accompany her. If any issues arise, Princess Shuangfu can communicate them directly to you, and I can speak on her behalf. It's rather convenient, isn't it? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1360. She's going too. But the journey is arduous, and the path is long. Xiao Yunduan began, only to be interrupted by Qiao Xian's laughter. I've never been one to endure hardship. I used to grumble every time we ventured into the mountains. My dear husband, can you bear to leave me alone in the capital? Besides, I'm curious to see what Qingdi is like. In fact, this may be a once-in-lifetime opportunity. Husband, please allow me to accompany you. Xiao Yunduan sighed. As long as my husband agrees, he will surely find a way to secure a chance for me, won't you? Xiao Yunduan sighed again. He was growing increasingly frustrated, but he still hesitated to approve of taking Qiao Xian with him. It was not going to be a peaceful journey. This wasn't merely due to the unpredictable challenges of traversing mountains and rivers, or entering a foreign land. The main concern was that the fourth prince and the third prince were unlikely to let slip such a golden opportunity, especially the fourth prince. They were bound to find an opportunity to strike during the journey. The crown prince would dispatch guards and covert agents to ensure his safety, and Princess Shuangfu also had her own guard contingent. During the journey, the marriage envoy held absolute authority over the guards. Xiao Yunduan was confident in his ability to manage them. However, with Qiao Xian added to the mix, he could not guarantee anything. Excessive worry led to confusion. His deep affection and high regard for her left him anxious about potential risks and rewards. Once such concerns clouded his judgment, it could be perilous. Often, not only would it prove counterproductive, but it could also endanger both of them. This was something he absolutely could not accept, although he found himself genuinely tempted by her proposition. Allowing her to accompany him without being separated would be the ideal scenario, a perfect balance. He also believed that she wasn't as fragile as she might appear. Even if the journey involved challenging terrain and lengthy travel, he was confident she could handle it. However, he couldn't afford to embrace this potentially perilous win-win situation, nor did he dare to. Xiao Yunduan couldn't bring himself to reject Qiao Xian outright, so he resorted to stalling tactics. "It's getting late, my love. Let's retire for the night, and we can discuss this further later. We've been on the boat for quite some time, and you must be tired. How about going home and getting a good night's sleep?" Qiao Xian felt a mix of irritation and amusement. She pinched his cheek and said with a playful smile, "Are you trying to evade me? You're my husband. Even if I bring this up tomorrow or later, can you really hide from me? Aren't you returning home tomorrow? Or are you planning to avoid talking to me?" Xiao Yunduan sighed. "Of course not." Qiao Xian grinned and coaxed him, "Just tell me, I want to hear it." Xiao Yunduan smiled wryly. She wanted to hear it? If she desired anything else, he would gladly comply. He simply fell silent, closed his eyes, and refrained from speaking further. Qiao Xian smiled, closed her eyes, and drifted off to sleep. In any case, she intended to go. If he denied her, she would insist on joining him. She differed from the daughters-in-law of other prominent families in the capital. They had elders and rules to guide them, but she did not. In the end, after days of persuasion, Xiao Yunduan relented. Forget it, he would take her along. After all, leaving her in the capital might put her in harm's way. Without his presence, not to mention the potential actions of the fourth prince, even the Tian family might exploit the situation to create problems. If something were to truly occur, he would be filled with even deeper regret. In the end, it seemed wiser to bring her along. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1361. Refusing. No matter what, he was determined to stay by her side. With him around, he was certain she would be safe. Xiao Yunduan broached the topic to the crown prince, using the pretext of collecting seeds. If it were just about accompanying the princess, the crown prince might have hesitated, as there had never been such a precedent. However, Xiao Yunduan suggested that Qiao Xian had a knack for planting flowers and trees and could potentially acquire valuable specimens during the journey, which would benefit the empire. The revival of the potatoes, strawberries, and peony flowers had already demonstrated Qiao Xian's capabilities. Xiao Yunduan didn't need to elaborate much, as the crown prince had already drawn his own conclusion. Crown prince couldn't help but feel moved. "I agree to this arrangement, but there's no need to rush to announce it to the outside world. We can discuss it closer to the departure date. By then, even if someone intended to cause trouble, it would be too late." Xiao Yunduan concurred with the timing and expressed his gratitude. "Thank you, Crown Prince, for your understanding. In that case, I will inform Ms. Qiao to begin preparations." "Very well," the Crown Prince replied. Observing Xiao Yunduan's softened demeanor and the subtle change in his tone when speaking of Qiao Xian, he couldn't help but chuckle internally. Officer Xiao and Ms. Qiao are truly deeply in love with each other. It can be lonely to travel alone, and the journey is fraught with challenges. Having someone to look after you is advantageous. What if I ask Princess Consort to select a trustworthy and sensible person to accompany Officer Xiao? It would provide him with additional assistance. Xiao Yunduan's expression twisted with discomfort and displeasure. "Crown Prince, you jest. I have no desire for anyone else to accompany me in this lifetime. My wife, Ms. Qiao, is the only one I need." The Crown Prince's countenance momentarily stiffened, and Xiao Yunduan's unequivocal refusal left him feeling somewhat embarrassed. Xiao Yunduan could discern the underlying dynamics, so he sighed inwardly and self-deprecatingly remarked, "To be completely honest, Crown Prince, I lack the skill to manage the inner court. The mere thought of dealing with a multitude of women gives me a headache. I fear that conflicts would erupt both openly and secretly, causing utter chaos. That would be disastrous, wouldn't it? Let's keep it simple. Having a wife and children to continue the family line is sufficient. I am more inclined to assist Crown Prince with his burdens when I have the time." The Crown Prince burst into laughter. "Officer Xiao, your perspective is unique, but I appreciate it." He narrowed his eyes and spoke in a hushed tone. "Officer Xiao, please serve me diligently. Rest assured, I won't let you endure hardship." Xiao Yunduan bowed. "Crown Prince, I will always remember your benevolence. You've already done so much for me." The Crown Prince chuckled heartily, feeling even more content. On that day, the Emperor also bestowed potatoes upon them. The Emperor's rewards far surpassed those of the Crown Prince. Given Xiao Yunduan's significant contribution to the empire, his reward was expected to be substantial. Although Qiao Xian had played a significant role in the matter, being a woman put her at a disadvantage. However, if the Crown Prince could remember her kindness, why would the Emperor argue with her? Xiao Yunduan handed over all the rewards to Qiao Xian, the 20 pieces of brocade, 4 pieces of jade ornaments, and 1 golden-laid jade rui, with a smile and said, "This is all thanks to your efforts. Keep them all." Qiao Xian didn't decline and responded with a smile, "Of course, what's yours is mine, and my contributions are yours as well. Why should we divide them? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1362, I expect it to be like this. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but chuckle. "I like what you're saying." The two exchanged smiles. Qiao Xian was more concerned about accompanying Xiao Yunduan to Qingdi. Xiao Yunduan didn't hide anything from her and shared the Crown Prince's response. Qiao Xian smiled. "I had faith that you would persuade the Crown Prince. That's wonderful. Let's start getting prepared to set off together." Seeing her joy, Xiao Yunduan felt a sense of relief knowing that they wouldn't have to be apart. The frustration he had felt earlier began to dissipate. At this moment, he realized that deep down he had hoped she would accompany him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have felt this relaxed upon confirming the arrangement. Qiao Xian, on the other hand, was genuinely thrilled. It was essentially an all-expenses-paid trip abroad. This was Qingdi, not the Great Qin Empire. While she could roam freely within the Great Qin Empire, a place like Qingdi was not accessible to just anyone. She had no intention of settling down there, but she was quite curious to explore. With the current friendly relationship between Great Qin and Qingdi, their safety wasn't a concern. Any minor issues could be resolved easily. Qiao Xian didn't need to prepare anything extraordinary, just clothes, shoes, socks, medicine, and some tea leaves. Her storage space held everything she needed. In addition to food crops and various harvested fruits, she had stored plenty of clothes and daily necessities. There was also an abundance of firewood, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and tea. Afterward, Qiao Xian took some time to check on the strawberries. It was already late November, and there were no more strawberries in season. Songshi and his team had used sickles to trim the stems and leaves, covering them with a layer of straw. Qiao Xian could immediately see that the strawberry patch had significantly shrunk in size. She noticed that Songshi had tidied up all the scattered pieces, making the empty area quite conspicuous. Qiao Xian remembered that there used to be strawberries in that spot as well. It was clear that this had been done by the individuals sent from the palace to harvest potatoes. They had taken numerous strawberry seedlings. Although Qiao Xian had anticipated this might happen, she couldn't help feeling a bit displeased. On second thought, there was a saying that it was easier to see the king of hell than to deal with his subordinates. Strawberries had become a precious commodity in the capital, and those people had an easy opportunity to obtain them. How could they resist the temptation? She should consider herself fortunate that only a small portion had been lost. What could she have done if they had taken them all or trampled them into a mess? Would she need to plead with the crown prince? They had harvested the potatoes neatly, and the vacant space had been plowed and tidied. The tangled potato stems were also cleared away. Qiao Xian was aware that Songshi must have arranged for this cleanup. Court personnel wouldn't bother with such tasks. Songshi was indeed a meticulous individual. Qiao Xian returned to Xiao Yunduan and smiled. You should commend him later. Let's prepare a generous red envelope for him during the new year. Xiao Yunduan nodded. He is remarkably attentive and organized, which is quite rare. Well, get sizable red envelopes and present them to him before we depart tomorrow. Agreed. When Songshi received his master's praise and heard about the red envelope, his face immediately lit up. Despite his humility, he couldn't help but grin with satisfaction. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1363, New Year Gift. He had hastily summoned his masters to address the aftermath of this crucial moment. His masters had finally acknowledged his hard work, ensuring he wasn't toiling in vain. To be honest, those from the palace and the Ministry of Revenue carried an air of nobility. They were quite brusque and impulsive. Fortunately, the steward of the East Palace accompanied him, and the head of the Ministry of Revenue was a colleague of his old master. He had to show them some respect and step in. Otherwise, who knew what those individuals might do to this parcel of land? Especially the strawberries. They would hardly believe it until every last one was uprooted. Qiao Xian gazed at the strawberries and inquired with Songshi about the hundreds of acres of carrots and cabbages. Could they be put on the market now? Songshi nodded enthusiastically. Look at the extensive planting we've done. There's no need for me to venture into the city to find buyers. Many vegetable vendors have already expressed interest. More than half of it has been sold, and there's less than 300 acres left. I believe it will all be sold within 10 days. As Songshi spoke, he provided a clear breakdown of the pricing and income. Given the bulk purchases by the vegetable vendors, they had to offer competitive prices. Carrots and cabbages were both selling for 2.5 copper coins per caddy. Qiao Xian nodded in agreement. That was a reasonable price. In other words, the capital's prices were higher than elsewhere. In Heshan County, cabbages often went for 1 copper coin for 1.5 or 2 caddies. Qiao Xian didn't dare to charge significantly more for her own cabbages and radishes, aiming for only a 20% higher price than the competition. In total, the 100 acres of land could fetch over 40 taels of silver. After deducting all the expenses, they would earn approximately 40 taels of silver. The few hundred acres planted this winter could also yield more than 300 taels. This 300 taels would be just enough to prepare for the upcoming New Year festivities at home. He rewarded Songshi generously with 50 taels, while Li Xia and Li Qiao received 20 taels each, and Qingyan was given 8 taels. The farmers on the farmstead were each provided with 2 taels, and the tenants received 3 taels each. Additionally, he tasked Songshi with purchasing a substantial amount of rice, flour, oil, salt, thick cotton cloth, quilts, and other necessities. He distributed these items among the farmers and tenants based on their population. Even though prices in the capital were steep, particularly with the new year approaching, the overall expenditure was not excessive. However, it brought happiness to the people and fostered a sense of belonging. Qiao Xian instructed Songshi to reserve 40 to 50 caddies of radishes and cabbages from the field for the winter. Songshi expressed his agreement and couldn't help but remark, "Madam, you truly have a kind heart. I have never witnessed any master treat their subordinates as well as you do, madam. If they fail to work diligently, they would betray their conscience without you having to say a word. I won't tolerate slackness, and I will promptly dismiss them." Qiao Xian smiled and replied, "You have been with my husband and me for a long time, so you understand our values. I can easily afford this small expense, and we can all enjoy a pleasant new year, can't we? If things go well in the future, that's wonderful." If not, well, handle it accordingly. Yes, yes, Madam is absolutely right. Qiao Xian resided in a comfortable home, as warm as spring, with abundant provisions. However, her servants and tenants were enduring the harsh winter at 5,000 meters, struggling to survive. This discrepancy weighed heavily on her conscience. Her upbringing and principles compelled her to take action. While she couldn't meddle in others' affairs or become a saint, she could make choices within her own family. In the blink of an eye, the 12th lunar month had arrived. The festive atmosphere in the capital grew more vibrant by the day, with the streets bustling with activity. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1364, Rumor. The New Year merchandise in the capital was a dazzling spectacle, offering a wide array of options that left one mesmerized. Every household bustled with activity, purchasing New Year goods and exchanging gifts. Qiao Xian was no exception to the festive spirit. The New Year ambience held a captivating allure, capable of uplifting one's mood year after year. Xiao Yunduan was a highly accomplished individual. He might not have been exceptionally popular, but he certainly stood out. This year, the invitations and gifts seemed more abundant than the previous year, prompting Qiao Xian to respond with even greater courtesy. In the East Palace, the Princess Consort directed her procurement team, housekeepers, and stewards to make elaborate preparations for the upcoming new year. She meticulously planned for various festive decorations to adorn the residence. Fresh flowers and plants would be arranged both inside and outside the house. Ingredients for a variety of snacks and dishes were carefully selected. She ensured that everyone in the household had their clothing tailored. She arranged for pouches and gold and silver berries as rewards. She also prepared a multitude of small gifts for the noble ladies and young ladies who wished to pay their respects. Every year at this time, Princess Consort found herself tirelessly occupied. However, no matter how hectic or challenging the preparations became, she never allowed the secondary concubines or concubines to encroach on her authority. Such moments filled her with immense pride in her role as the Princess Consort. She relished this sensation. Whenever such circumstances arose, she felt that all her patience and determination had been well worth it. As long as she persisted for a few more years and endured a bit longer, she would attain heights beyond the reach of any woman in the world. This thought provided her with boundless courage and strength to face each day with enthusiasm. This year, in addition to the rewards from the palace, the documents distributed by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and contributions from several imperial estates, the Crown Prince bestowed upon her an additional 15,000 taels of silver. Princess Consort was taken aback by the news. This year's harvest had been quite favorable, with the Crown Prince making a substantial contribution and the Emperor's reward surpassing that of the previous year. The 15,000 taels of silver came as a welcome surprise, almost alleviating all her concerns for the upcoming new year. The East Palace was never short on resources, but what they lacked was liquid cash. Nevertheless, even if their stockpiled supplies were beginning to deteriorate in the warehouse, it was absolutely out of the question for the East Palace to sell them for money, be it openly or covertly. Such a discovery would have dire consequences. Now that she had sufficient funds, Princess Consort felt considerably more at ease. She could finally enjoy a comfortable new year. Unbeknownst to the Princess Consort, rumors had started to circulate among the noble royal families, the elite clans, and the high-ranking officials. There were whispers that the Crown Prince had dipped into the national treasury to ensure a more lavish Lunar New Year celebration. Otherwise, Princess Consort struggled to secure funds for the New Year preparations. A well-known issue in the capital's middle-class circles would have been a source of great distress. Yet, this year, Princess Consort appeared carefree, facing no apparent obstacles. Word had it that Princess Consort had informed her relatives and associates that she had nothing to fret over this year, and they could enjoy a worry-free new year. What did Princess Consort need to worry about anyway? It was merely a matter of finances. She had no cause for concern now. And where did she procure the funds? Naturally, from the Crown Prince. But where did the crown prince acquire his wealth? Could it be that the crown prince could conjure money out of thin air? Or perhaps he was engaged in some sort of business? Upon hearing these rumors, the crown prince and princess consort vehemently denied them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1365. Impeachment. Princess Consort, in particular, seethed with anger, berating anyone who dared to slander the crown prince and even suggesting they deserved dire consequences. However, the sudden eruption of such fervent defense raised suspicion rather than quelling it. It seemed as though she was plagued by a guilty conscience. Before the crown prince could provide evidence of his innocence, an imperial censor swiftly lodged an impeachment against him, and the news spread like wildfire within the imperial court. The emperor, incensed by the allegations, summoned the crown prince and other princes to interrogate them. One couldn't overlook the gravity of the situation. Embezzlement from the national treasury by the crown prince was an enormous scandal, one that could lead to the forfeiture of his position. Naturally, the crown prince vehemently denied the accusations. How could he possibly commit such an act? The other princes jeered at him, pushing the crown prince to the brink. His eyes welled with tears as he knelt before the emperor, kowtowing fervently. Seeing this, though the emperor was reluctant, he ordered a thorough investigation. This was an immense matter, and the emperor could not rest easy without discovering the truth. The fourth prince observed from the sidelines, his demeanor icy and his smug satisfaction barely concealed. He eagerly anticipated the crown prince's downfall. As for the rumors, well, they held a grain of truth. Did the crown prince truly believe he could conceal such a clandestine act? If he hadn't been absolutely certain, why would he have allowed the news to circulate and secretly directed the censor to impeach him? Indeed, the Prince of Qingdi was still in the capital, leaving the fourth prince in a dilemma over whether to expose the matter. After all, airing their dirty laundry in public was a risky proposition. After careful consideration, why not proceed? The crown prince might have had absolute certainty about the presence of the Prince of Qingdi and his associates in the vicinity. With that assurance, no one would dare to voice objections, even if irregularities arose. Considering the undeniable evidence at hand, why not seize this opportunity to file a complaint? The one losing face would be the crown prince himself. It wouldn't concern anyone else. Even if their father found out, he would be livid and reprimand the crown prince. Of course, the fourth prince exercised great caution in handling this matter. He had verified multiple times that the crown prince had indeed used funds from the national treasury. A sum of 40,000 taels was not insignificant. If future events unfolded favorably, perhaps when the Prince of Qingdi departed the capital, their father would close ranks and deal with the family matters, ultimately deposing the crown prince. In the current moment, despite the crown prince's kowtowing and declarations of innocence, the fourth prince harbored nothing but disdain. He regarded the crown prince as a liar who had taken a step back to advance. Did the crown prince truly believe he could keep his actions concealed and remain safe? The emperor conducted a thorough investigation, arriving at a swift conclusion. As it turned out, the crown prince had been falsely accused. He hadn't utilized a single tael of silver from the national treasury. Princess Consort had no need to fret over this year's finances, not because the crown prince had secured it through improper means, but rather due to the imperial plantation's bountiful harvest. They had sold a substantial quantity of herbs, food, and livestock. The notion of 40,000 taels of silver was nothing more than baseless rumors. In fact, the crown prince had no such sum at his disposal. The imperial plantation's earnings amounted to a clear 8,000 taels of silver. Furthermore, the emperor had granted an additional 1,000 taels of silver, bringing the total to nearly 10,000 taels of silver. This explained Princess Consort's newfound financial freedom this year. With the crown prince's innocence firmly established, both he and the emperor breathed sighs of relief. Otherwise, the Qin Empire would have been unable to salvage its dignity, and the position of the crown prince would have been entrusted to another. Chapter 1366, Trap. The emperor breathed a sigh of relief and instructed his trusted aide to continue the investigation. Where had this rumor originated from? Why would anyone malign the crown prince in this manner? Who had propagated it? However, the diplomatic delegation from Qingdi had disseminated such rumors while still in Great Qin. Their intentions were evidently malevolent. If they were not harshly punished as a deterrent, what repercussions would follow? The emperor was far from senile and oblivious. Who dared to taunt him in such a manner? It was a clear provocation. The fourth prince, bewildered, infuriated, and anxious, hastened to the palace to confer with honored Princess Mei. In honored Princess Mei's chamber, he unleashed a torrent of furious curses aimed at the crown prince. Honored Princess Mei's countenance grew as cold as ice, her fury palpable. At this juncture, what remained unclear to the mother and son? They had been ensnared. Without a doubt, the orchestrator behind this conspiracy had to be the crown prince himself. He deliberately revealed suspicious elements and intentionally allowed them to uncover evidence. He executed actions that would lead them astray and ensnared them in his trap, step by step. They believed they had covertly unearthed his secrets and held leverage over him without his knowledge. They believed victory was within reach, but it all turned out to be a ruse. It was an illusion he had meticulously crafted to draw them in. The fourth prince seethed with indignation. I never anticipated that the esteemed crown prince would resort to such deplorable tactics. I never expected him to deteriorate to this extent. What happened to the refined and gentlemanly crown prince with impeccable manners? The fourth prince's once favorable opinion of the crown prince shattered into a million pieces. Had this happened to the second or third prince, the fourth prince likely would not have acted rashly or probed any further. However, the crown prince was an exception. How else could it be put? When an inherently honest person resorts to deception, the consequences can be dire. The crown prince seemed intent on orchestrating his downfall. Honored Princess Mei sneered. As I've always said, there's no wolf in this world that doesn't crave meat and blood. He holds the position of crown prince. If he were genuinely gentle, benevolent, and harmless, he wouldn't have been able to maintain his standing. This time, both of us were complacent, and that's why he schemed against us. We can't afford to make such mistakes again. But mother, what if father discovers my involvement? What should I do? The fourth prince harbored a deep fear of his father's methods. He lacked confidence that his father wouldn't uncover the truth. There were likely few things in the capital that could remain concealed from his father's keen awareness. Furthermore, in his excitement, he was prone to making mistakes, which only heightened his anxiety. If it were true, he would have no such concerns. When father scolded the crown prince in his anger, he would likely not delve into further inquiries. But that was not the case. Honored Princess Mei furrowed her brow. She, too, lacked confidence. Considering your father's temperament, this matter won't be easily resolved. Find someone for him. As for your father, I'll offer my apologies and confess the truth to him. The fourth prince's eyes widened in astonishment. Confess the truth? Honored Princess Mei sneered. Even if we don't speak of it, do you believe your father won't discern the truth? We can't afford to take that risk. I know what to say. Your father won't take kindly to hearing about your scandalous liaison. Nevertheless, you must prepare yourself, as a scolding is likely unavoidable. Chapter 1367, Crying and Apologizing. At that moment, she would undoubtedly adopt a repentant demeanor. The fourth prince was rendered speechless. He dreaded this course of action. It was intensely humiliating. Furthermore, he pondered what his father's opinion might be. However, he had no better alternative. Avoiding this embarrassment would likely result in his father's disfavor from this point onward, a prospect he found even more unacceptable. In choosing the lesser of two evils, he reluctantly resolved to endure this path. The fourth prince clenched his teeth. A dog that bites doesn't bark. That devious individual. It appears that among us brothers, he is the most cunning. Remember this, mark my words. Honored Princess Mei sneered. It's challenging to maintain a facade of gentility for so many years. This time, he has finally revealed his true nature. Alright, once the mask falls, there's no concealing it. It's not just us. Your second and third brothers will also keep a close watch on him. While it offered little solace to the fourth prince, it was better than nothing. The fourth prince vented his anger for a while before adding, "In the past, things were fine, but why do I feel that ever since that Qiao fellow entered his circle, he has become heretical, malevolent, wicked, and crafty? That Qiao fellow is genuinely detestable." He refrained from blaming Qiao Xian directly due to her status, only muttering this sentiment privately. Hearing his words, Honored Princess Mei felt a mixture of indignation and amusement. Nevertheless, she recognized that her son needed an outlet for his anger, preventing him from falling ill and ensuring they could welcome the new year in high spirits. In addition to ushering in the old and the new, one had to maintain a cheerful and contented demeanor. Only then could they attract good fortune. Honored Princess Mei remarked, Xiao Yunduan serves as Princess Shuangfu's wedding envoy, entrusted with escorting the princess to Qingdi for her wedding next spring. It's a lengthy journey, and one can't guarantee that no mishaps will occur along the way. In essence, this meant there would be ample opportunities to enact their plans. The fourth prince felt somewhat relieved and commented, "That's too long a wait. I can't hold out that long, so I ought to exact some retribution sooner. Frankly, I simply don't care for Xiao Yunduan, and it would irk me if I didn't teach him a lesson. It appears we'll have to do this the hard way." Honored Princess Mei harbored a strong aversion to anyone associated with the crown prince, and Xiao Yunduan was far from the only one. However, there was no denying that this particular individual was particularly vexing, consistently stirring up trouble. In that case, proceed cautiously and don't overstep. And don't entangle yourself unnecessarily. The fourth prince huffed, "I understand." The mother and son concurred that, before the emperor could identify the mastermind, Honored Princess Mei would feign tears and confess. Honored Princess Mei recounted that the fourth prince had been equally astounded when he first heard of the matter from his subordinates. He had intended to report it to the emperor, but the issue was too significant. Lacking concrete evidence, he couldn't broach it lightly. Accusing the crown prince of such a transgression was no trifling matter. As a result, he had instructed his subordinates to conduct a discreet investigation. Unexpectedly, they uncovered that the crown prince had indeed embezzled funds from the treasury and surreptitiously transferred them to the East Palace. Even if the fourth prince possessed the audacity, he wouldn't dare to conceal such a grave matter. Nonetheless, the 12th lunar month had already arrived, with the new year rapidly approaching. Furthermore, the Prince of Qingdi and his entourage were currently in the capital's intermediate ranks. If news of this scandal were to spread, where would the crown prince's reputation be? Where would the royal family's dignity stand? Chapter 1368, Stirring. The fourth prince remained hesitant. To his surprise, this rumor had actually spread among the princes, kings, monarchs, nobility, and important ministers. The fourth prince was unshaken by the development, and he dared not voice the allegations personally, as it might seem like he was further maligning the crown prince. Since the matter had already disseminated widely, concealing it was futile and unnecessary. Consequently, he instructed an imperial censor to lodge a formal impeachment. He decided to bring the issue into the open, allowing people to see that the laws of the Great Qin Empire were rigorous, even when it came to the punishment of royal transgressors. Unexpectedly, after the emperor conducted a thorough investigation, it transpired that the crown prince had been wronged. He was innocent. "Your Majesty!" Honored Princess Mei exclaimed. The fourth prince was truly terrified. He had genuinely received a report from his subordinates, believing that the crown prince had embezzled funds from the national treasury. Therefore, he secretly initiated an investigation. Unclear why the report he received was accurate. This is truly, these officials were extraordinarily audacious to deceive the fourth prince. How did the situation devolve to this point? The fourth prince is so shocked, terrified, and at a loss that he cannot face your Majesty. As his mother, I must summon the courage to clarify matters before your majesty, so that your majesty can temper your anger. This child acted too impulsively and erratically this time. I won't intercede on his behalf at all. I only hope your majesty comprehends the intricacies of the situation. That disobedient son of mine would be content. Your majesty is sagacious. Please be merciful. The emperor gazed coldly at honored Princess Mei, who knelt on the ground and wept. He offered no response, maintaining his stern demeanor. Taoist Shangzhen, seated on a futon, holding a Buddhist relic in hand, cleared his throat gently. Your majesty, remain composed. Anger consumes the liver and damages the internal organs. It does not benefit your cultivation. The emperor closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and endeavored to regain his composure. Upon reopening his eyes, his countenance exhibited a hint of softening. Is that so? Your majesty, I would never dare to deceive you. Fourth brother is far too meddlesome. This matter concerns the crown prince. He didn't bring it to my attention first, yet he had the audacity to conduct a secret investigation. Quite audacious. Honored Princess Mei kowtowed, her hairpin faintly clinking as it touched the ground. I beseech your majesty's forgiveness. The emperor's voice remained cold as he stated, if I don't reprimand him, it would diminish the crown prince's standing. Instruct him to offer an apology to the crown prince and reflect upon his actions in seclusion. Yes, I convey the emperor's gratitude on behalf of the fourth prince. Honored Princess Mei kowtowed, her eyes moist with tears. Internally, she heaved a sigh of relief. It appeared that the emperor accepted her account. After all, it was not the fourth prince who had orchestrated this personally. It sufficed to offer up a scapegoat to shoulder the blame. However, this approach resulted in the fourth prince receiving a reprimand and punishment from the emperor, significantly diminishing his prestige and placing him below even the crown prince. Honored Princess Mei, who had just narrowly escaped crisis, was once again consumed by resentment. The emperor still held great affection for honored Princess Mei. Observing her on her knees, tears in her eyes, he felt a pang of sympathy. He sighed and uttered, "I'm baffled by your involvement in this matter. Rise. I know you are devoted to me." Yes, I am deeply grateful for the emperor's benevolence. My unwavering loyalty to the emperor is evident to all. Due to this, as the mother of the fourth prince, I feel all the more ashamed. Chapter 1369. Apology. Honored Princess Mei wiped away her tears, her pretty face reflecting a blend of sorrow and shame, intermingled with a touch of relief and admiration. She gently held the hand of the young palace maid and stood up unsteadily. The emperor's investigation and honored Princess Mei's account didn't unearth much of a source. The fourth prince had instructed those who secretly looked into the matter to harbor resentment against the crown prince for previous punishments, prompting them to use their influence to exact revenge and falsely implicate the crown prince. He had also been the one clandestinely spreading the rumors. Ironically, his efforts to frame the crown prince had backfired, almost leading to his own downfall. Recognizing that framing the crown prince would leave him with no escape, he ultimately took his own life. As the year drew to a close, this incident was far from honorable. With the Qingdi diplomatic delegation also in attendance, as honored Princess Mei had predicted, the emperor was disinclined to exacerbate the situation or involve the royal brothers in the feud. Hence, when honored Princess Mei implored for clemency with tears in her eyes, he chose not to delve further into the matter. Consequently, this outcome was realized. Honored Princess Mei had already accepted responsibility for the fourth prince on his behalf, signaling his recognition of his transgressions. After receiving a rebuke and a lesson, the matter would conclude. What alternative did he have? To conduct an exhaustive inquiry? Not only would it unleash a storm, ensnaring numerous individuals and leading to dismissals, but it would also embroil countless families in investigations and penalties. Furthermore, if the fourth prince were embroiled in the investigation, how would the emperor handle his own son? Did he desire his own child's life? The emperor would never entertain such an idea. The fourth prince, too, breathed a sigh of relief. Much like honored Princess Mei, The fourth prince had temporarily set aside his grievances after the ordeal. However, as soon as the matter was resolved, he couldn't help but harbor indignation and resentment. Yet, he didn't dare to defy his father's decree. In order to present an appearance of apology, he instructed his subordinates to select a substantial assortment of precious antiques from the palace warehouse. These items included various pieces crafted from gold, silver, jade, and porcelain. While these treasures would be considered rare and valuable in most households, within his own favored prince's residence, they held little significance. He wouldn't feel any heartache even if he gave them away. In fact, he decided to present these items as gifts without a single tael of silver. The fourth prince arrived with a considerable quantity of gifts to offer as an apology. The crown prince, not one to let such an opportunity pass, made a few remarks during their exchange. He advised, "Don't let your subordinates deceive you and damage our brotherly relationship. Avoid such actions in the future. And, if you have any doubts, you can always ask me directly. We are brothers, and there's nothing we can't discuss." The fourth prince nodded with a forced smile. After exchanging pleasantries for a while, the matter was considered resolved, even though an underlying tension hung in the air. The crown prince was eager to keep the gifts, but the fourth prince couldn't bear to stay any longer. He feared that if he remained in the presence of the crown prince's gentle and elegant facade, he might lose control of his emotions and hit him right on the face. Though he managed to force a smile, the fourth prince couldn't help but feel a seething anger as he looked at the crown prince's deceptive exterior. He longed to confront him. After struggling to contain his feelings, he finally mustered a smile. If the fourth prince decided to stay, the crown prince would treat him courteously and keep him company. However, he wouldn't insist if the fourth prince chose to leave. Chapter 1370, Wrong Idea. The fourth prince bid his farewell and departed. The crown prince then instructed someone to unwrap the gifts brought by the fourth prince, chuckling to himself. The items were undeniably precious. Jade and porcelain, renowned creations from official kills, each held a value of thousands in gold. However, the fourth prince's household was far from wanting in such luxuries. Could it be that the Eastern Palace lacked these items? It was more likely that the East Palace possessed even more of these treasures compared to the fourth prince's residence. Everyone in the city knew that the East Palace was in dire need of funds. It was no secret, and the crown prince was well aware of the considerable wealth of the fourth prince's residence. Bestowing gifts and extending apologies had to be carried out with finesse, adding to his challenges. The Tian family brothers, as anticipated, this was the only recourse. The crown prince let out a silent sigh. He felt a sense of despondency and powerlessness creep over him. He had once believed that through genuine sincerity and time, others would come to understand his intentions and recognize the kind-hearted person he was. They would have faith that even if their father ruled the world in the future, he would remain a loving brother who would treat them kindly. However, the kindness he had endured and repeatedly forgiven couldn't endure the deliberate and unintentional provocations, hardships, and wounds inflicted upon him. He wasn't made of stone. No matter how generous and magnanimous he was, he couldn't remain indifferent to these continual injuries. It seemed he had been mistaken all along. This position was simply too alluring. It was what they had desired from the outset. As long as he didn't voluntarily relinquish this position, no matter how well-intentioned and kind-hearted he was towards them, it proved futile. They wouldn't show gratitude. Instead, they would exploit their opportunities and become even more ambitious. After dinner, Princess Consort informed the Crown Prince about the New Year gifts. The Crown Prince had endured injustice, and now that he had found redress, the fourth prince's fortunes had taken a downturn. Although this remained a secret, Princess Consort couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Unwittingly, her chattiness grew, and she engaged the Crown Prince with a smile. However, the Crown Prince appeared distracted and simply remarked, "Princess Consort, you have the authority to decide. You're the one who worries about this every year, so I have no concerns." Her heart warmed at his words, and she nodded with a smile. "Oh, one more thing," the Crown Prince suddenly added, Officer Qiao has done an exceptional job in managing our affairs. Don't forget to prepare a generous gift for the Qiao family as well. After pondering for a moment, he continued, include half of the gifts for Officer Qiao in the intermediate gifts. There's no need to wrap them, just send them directly to him. Keep the other half in storage. Princess Consort was taken aback but smiled. Certainly, I understand. Lord Qiao truly deserves such a generous reward for his dedication to the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince nodded with a grin. There were certain matters, like Officer Qiao's loyalty and Ms. Qiao's involvement, that he couldn't openly discuss with Princess Consort. Nevertheless, he was determined not to treat them unfairly. Observing the Crown Prince's good mood, Princess Consort seized the moment to express, Lord Qiao will be sending Princess Shuangfu off for her wedding next year, and it will likely take him at least half a year for the journey. It's not ideal for him to have no one to look after him. What if I select a gentle, intelligent, and considerate person to accompany him? Lord Qiao can also rely on this person when he departs, which would save us a lot of trouble in the province. Chapter 1371. Is it wrong? Princess Consort had harbored this desire for a long time, but circumstances hadn't afforded her the opportunity. Strangely, Qiao Xian's rejection of the fourth Princess Consort felt like a thorn lodged in her heart, causing her discomfort. Logically, she should have taken pleasure in the fourth Princess Consort's humiliation, but that wasn't the case. Instead, she believed that Qiao Xian needed a lesson in virtue. Without the guidance of her mother and elders, she should learn everything. Lord Qiao had a promising future ahead, with a high likelihood of rising to a prominent official position. How could he not have a suitable wife? That would be problematic. Wouldn't it tarnish Lord Qiao's reputation? Wouldn't it undermine his dignity? The Crown Prince looked up at Princess Consort, his gaze sharp enough to startle her. Crown Prince, is this inappropriate? She asked hesitantly. Though it was technically fine, it just wouldn't work. The Crown Prince replied, no need. Didn't I already advise you? Don't interfere in Officer Qiao's family matters. Princess Consort was taken aback, feeling a growing unease in her heart. She forced a smile and said, Crown Prince, you've misunderstood me. This isn't meddling in family affairs. I merely believe it's a more suitable arrangement. Lord Qiao will have someone to accompany him during his journey, and Madame Qiao will feel more at ease. Isn't that ideal? The Crown Prince remained silent, caught in a dilemma. In truth, he also believed that Princess Consort's plan was well thought out and appropriate, and he secretly concurred. But what was the point of agreeing? Officer Qiao would likely not appreciate that idea. Madame Qiao was a capable woman, but she also had a temper. One of the Crown Prince's admirable qualities was his reluctance to impose his own wishes on others. He had a deep respect for people's autonomy. Very well, Officer Qiao, if you require anything, you can handle it on your own. No need to fret about it, the Crown Prince affirmed. Princess Consort was taken aback by this response. The Crown Prince remained concerned and turned his attention to her, reiterating, Officer Qiao's family matters are not a concern for you. Princess Consort couldn't help but speak up. Crown Prince, are you concerned that Ms. Qiao might react unfavorably? I mean no disrespect, but there's a limit to jealousy. Lord Qiao is someone you hold in high regard, and he has a promising future. The Crown Prince wouldn't want him to be ridiculed due to a domestic incident. Don't worry, I'll speak with Ms. Qiao about this, and I'll ensure that Lord Qiao doesn't create any disturbances in his own household. Being the Princess Consort, it was reasonable to expect that Ms. Qiao would heed her request when asked directly. Furthermore, she was doing this for the benefit of Ms. Qiao and Lord Qiao. If Ms. Qiao possessed any sense, she should know how to choose wisely. Did she not understand how the capital's gossip-mongers ridiculed men who seemed afraid of their wives? Regardless of a man's competence, such a reputation would be a liability. Lord Qiao was fortunate in that the Crown Prince trusted and valued him, allowing him to retain his prominent position despite the rumors. For anyone else, such rumors would have spelled the end of their career. If Ms. Qiao truly cared for Lord Qiao, she should exhibit some sensibility. No, there's no need. the Crown Prince replied, feeling exasperated. Princess Consort had never been so insistent before. What had come over her? Why was she fixated on this matter? Princess Consort, Officer Qiao has a clear plan and knows what he will and won't do. Please refrain from interfering in his affairs, and do not bring this up again. Chapter 1372. Princess Consort did not hear any words. But, Princess Consort, that is the case. Yes, Crown Prince, I understand. As long as you understand. The Crown Prince had no intention of prolonging his stay. After reminding Xiao Yunduan not to forget about the New Year's gift, he returned to his study. Princess Consort breathed a sigh of relief, her hand resting on her chest. Her inner turmoil persisted, and she couldn't find peace. Auntie, do you know why the Crown Prince is getting involved in such matters? She inquired. It struck her that the Crown Prince's remarks might have been motivated by concern for Qiao Xian's feelings. Yet, the Crown Prince and Qiao Xian had no apparent connection, so why would he care about matters in the backyard? Auntie Fu offered a gentle smile. Lord Qiao is unique, and the Crown Prince has a particular regard for him. He must have his reasons for saying what he did, so perhaps it's best to spare yourself the trouble. Hearing these words, Princess Consort found solace and replied with a smile, You're right. She sighed, reflecting on her actions. Why am I doing this? It's all for the Crown Prince. Lord Qiao is the Crown Prince's right-hand man and Minister Old Yun's confidant. Lord Qiao hails from the countryside and may not be well-versed in the ways of the nobility. There are no elders here to guide him, and Ms. Qiao isn't a native of this province. I'm just concerned. What if Ms. Qiao becomes upset? Lord Qiao would be so embarrassed. Auntie Fu struggled to find the right words. She had repeatedly assured Princess Consort that Madame Qiao was exceedingly polite. She had patiently taught her etiquette and decorum on multiple occasions, and Madame Qiao had proven to be a diligent learner, attentively seeking guidance and asking numerous questions. Madame Qiao was the daughter of a concubine and hadn't experienced much of the world. She lacked reliable elders to guide her, but she was far from being a troublesome woman. She certainly wouldn't resort to causing public scenes. However, it seemed that Princess Consort paid little heed to this fact. Auntie Fu couldn't fathom why Princess Consort seemed so insistent but knew that pressing further would only annoy her. With a gracious smile, Auntie Fu offered, Lord Qiao is no pushover. I believe he can handle Ms. Qiao. Princess Consort had little choice but to adopt a more optimistic outlook. She smiled and said, I hope so. If that's the case, it'll be a testament to his abilities. I shouldn't worry too much. When the Crown Prince mentioned the New Year gift for the Qiao family, Princess Consort inspected the presents closely. Among them were pairs of brocade pastry gift boxes, mushrooms, including pine mushrooms and silver ear mushrooms, sea cucumbers, abalones, shrimps, dried delicacies, and other rare seafood gift boxes. There were also 6 pairs of palace flowers, inner pouches, 2 jars of tea leaves, 2 jars of top-notch pear blossom wine, and lengths of brocade. They had selected the finest superior-class items and used elaborate gift boxes. Coincidentally, the Crown Prince's attendants had delivered the gift boxes from the 4th Prince, prompting Princess Consort to arrange them neatly. Curiosity piqued, she pointed to 2 individuals and instructed them to open the boxes. One box contained a green jade carving with flower motifs and a peony stove, while the other held a 5-colored hollow cloud phoenix bottle. All were tribute-quality items and exquisitely crafted, each worth at least 20,000 to 30,000 taels of silver in the market. Impressed, Princess Consort remarked with a smile, the 4th Prince is truly generous. Chapter 1373. Qiao Xian was a little dumbfounded. Princess Consort glanced at the 10 gift boxes and immediately surmised that they must be quite valuable. She didn't need to examine the rest to estimate their worth. A sense of sympathy washed over her. Even if they couldn't be sold, these items were valuable goods that could be stored in the 500 meters warehouse and used for future rewards. While Lord Qiao was undoubtedly the Crown Prince's trusted confidant, Was it really necessary to bestow such lavish gifts all at once? This gift alone was worth at least 100,000 taels of silver. Princess Consort couldn't quite comprehend why the crown prince held Lord Qiao in such high regard. Lord Qiao was an admirable man, but it seemed the crown prince had exceptionally high expectations of him. Pack them up and send them over tomorrow, Princess Consort sighed, not wanting to dwell on it any longer. She felt increasingly stifled after this revelation. Given the crown prince's instructions, she couldn't secretly retain the gifts. That was out of the question. The following day, the generous New Year gift was dispatched to the Qiao residence. Xiao Yunduan was absent, leaving Qiao Xian somewhat bewildered. Although they couldn't ascertain the contents of the gift boxes, judging by their size and origin from the East Palace, they were undoubtedly valuable. So it wouldn't be appropriate to inquire if the East Palace had mistakenly sent such an extravagant gift. Qiao Xian graciously thanked them while discreetly instructing Li Xia to increase the amount in the red envelopes given to the young eunuch and Auntie Liang. Once Auntie Liang returned to the East Palace, she reported everything to Princess Consort. After a moment's thought, she added with a smile, "Madame Xiao is remarkably generous. She gave me a 50-tael silver tip, and the eunuchs accompanying her each received 20 taels of silver." Originally, if the master did not ask about such a small matter as a servant, the servant did not have to report it. But Qiao Xian had given her too much this time, so Auntie Liang thought that it was better to say something. 50 taels? Today, even the coachman was accompanied by 3 eunuchs, totaling 60 taels, making it a grand sum of 110 taels. This was indeed a substantial amount. It was worth noting that even on the crown prince's birthday, rewards given to his subordinates typically amounted to only 10 taels. Both Princess Consort and Auntie Fu were taken aback by the generosity of the gift. Princess Consort let out a scoff. If it's meant as a reward, then let them keep it. Auntie Liang, with a nod of agreement and a smile, departed. Princess Consort remarked, "Madame Xiao is exceedingly generous. She doesn't seem to be concerned about spending Lord Xiao's money." Princess Consort had expected more from Qiao Xian. In her view, Ms. Qiao was not adept at managing a household. She was merely inflating her importance at Lord Xiao's expense. Even with the Qiao family's considerable wealth, Lord Xiao wouldn't be able to indulge her even if he possessed thousands of family assets. Auntie Fu hesitated for a moment before gently explaining, "I've heard that the Qiao family has been making a considerable profit from selling strawberries, so they might have some extra resources to spare. Moreover, Auntie Liang and the others were sent by the East Palace, so Madame Xiao is showing her respect for the Crown Prince and you." Princess Consort responded, "We ought to make good use of the funds. Lord Xiao has many social obligations at the court, and as valuable as those strawberries might be, their selling price can only go so high. But you're right, at least she's showing some consideration." Auntie Fu smiled and ceased her defense of Qiao Xian. Princess Consort may not have known the exact amount the Qiao family earned from their strawberry garden, but she had her sources. 2 taels of silver for a plate of these exclusive fruits. It was rumored that they sold dozens of caddies to the tea houses every day. In just 1 month, they had likely earned a substantial sum. Chapter 1374. Must Compete Again. Qiao Xian was taken aback when she laid eyes on the gifts. The 10 pieces of jade, porcelain, and gold-plated purple copperware were all exquisite, clearly treasures of tribute grade. The intricate designs, fine craftsmanship, and intricate details garnered admiration from the depths of her heart. This left Qiao Xian feeling inexplicably guilty. It seemed that gifting the crown prince a mere 30,000 taels of silver might have seemed rather paltry. This was an extraordinary windfall. Even if she wasn't an expert in valuing such items, it was evident that the combined value of these 10 items far exceeded 30,000 taels. When Xiao Yunduan returned, Qiao Xian couldn't contain her surprise and promptly showed him the gifts. "Husband, these are the New Year's gifts sent by the Princess Consort. Don't you think they are too extravagant? Shouldn't we give the crown prince more money?" Xiao Yunduan burst into laughter. "Well, since the East Palace has been so generous, we can keep it. We will provide the Crown Prince with additional funds before our departure in the spring. I have a plan in mind. The Crown Prince wouldn't be lacking in resources. Xiao Yunduan had spent a considerable amount of time by his side, gaining insights into his financial management. While he might not be completely accurate, he wouldn't be too far off the mark. He couldn't afford to give the Crown Prince an excessive amount of money. He had to exercise caution. Qiao Xian smiled, feeling reassured. In the blink of an eye, the minor new year had come and gone. The capital had become even livelier, with an intensified festive atmosphere. During this period, the government offices were essentially operating at half capacity. There was little pressing work to attend to, and unless it was an urgent matter, no one was in a hurry to address it. Official duties were temporarily put on hold, resuming their normal pace only after the New Year and the Lantern Festival. Families were preoccupied with attending social events and gatherings. Qiao Xian adapted, but Xiao Yunduan had to participate in banquets or small gatherings nearly every day. What left people utterly speechless was that Qingdi's prince had been engaged in drinking contests with Xiao Yunduan ever since Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian returned from their journey south. Prince of Qingdi possessed a decent alcohol tolerance, and he was considered an intermediate-level drinker. Remarkably, his competitive spirit burned as fiercely as ever. The more he lost, the more determined he became. It seemed that as long as he could outdo the great Qin people in any aspect, he would find contentment and fulfillment. They had no choice but to compete in one area where they could still hold their ground, drinking. Furthermore, because Xiao Yunduan managed the dishes excellently, he had to rise to the occasion wherever he fell. Prince of Qingdi admired Xiao Yunduan but was also eager to best him, particularly in matters of drinking. Xiao Yunduan couldn't decline Prince of Qingdi's challenges, so he continued to accept one glass after another. Nevertheless, he kept a watchful eye on his own limits, ensuring he didn't become too intoxicated. If he felt he was approaching that threshold, he would decline further drinks. However, what he didn't anticipate was that Prince of Qingdi would be the first to succumb. The prince became so inebriated that his speech became slurred, and his eyes lost focus. He could hardly articulate coherent sentences. As his own attendants escorted him away, Xiao Yunduan still sat gracefully with clear eyes, appearing only slightly tipsy. Consequently, the banquet that day ended with the young prince completely inebriated and unconscious in the province. Initially, this didn't raise much concern. However, it soon came to light that the wine Prince of Qingdi and Xiao Yunduan had consumed that night was different from the rest. Chapter 1375. Are you giving others a way out? The two of them were consuming a potent liquor that had been specially procured by the Qingdi delegation. The alcohol content was so high that individuals with average tolerance would become inebriated after consuming just over half of a 2-inch glass of this exquisite beverage. Even those with good alcohol tolerance could manage only around less than 1 caddy. Even in Qingdi, where people generally had better alcohol tolerance, most could handle at most half a kilogram. Among the Qingdi people, Prince of Qingdi boasted one of the highest alcohol tolerances. He could consume over 2 caddies, outdrinking the majority of his compatriots. He had assumed that Xiao Yunduan, who appeared frail and delicate, would barely manage half a glass at most. This would give him an opportunity to taunt the great Qin Empire's people for their inability to hold their liquor. He anticipated at least one victory to restore his reputation, right? Unexpectedly, at the outset, the two of them had only consumed 3 glasses. Aside from a faint frown, Xiao Yunduan seemed entirely composed. It was a far cry from what Prince of Qingdi had envisioned. The prince was taken aback and unwilling to let Xiao Yunduan off so easily. He searched for excuses to continue drinking, cup after cup. Ultimately, it was Prince of Qingdi who had hoped to defeat Xiao Yunduan, who succumbed first. When the truth became known, everyone was left dumbfounded. Some individuals harbored doubts and, to verify the potency of the liquor, acquired some of the Qingdi wine for testing. Indeed, it was exceptionally strong and could easily intoxicate. No one had a response to this revelation. Some gnashed their teeth in dissatisfaction. Xiao Yunduan's conduct was utterly unconventional. What kind of luck did he possess? While excelling in scholarship was one thing, a scholar who appeared so unassuming could hold his liquor so impressively. Wasn't this too much? He was offering no respite to anyone. Xiao Yunduan was equally taken aback. He had never realized that he could hold his liquor so effectively. The fact was, he had never been drunk before, so he had no way of knowing the extent of his alcohol tolerance. He simply felt that he could still consume more whenever he was encouraged to drink, and he never reached his limit. When Crown Prince chuckled and commended him as a perfected, Xiao Yunduan could only smile wryly. Qiao Xian, on the other hand, laughed along when her colleagues teased her. She understood that each time her husband returned home to rest, she guided energy into his body to help him recover from the effects of the alcohol, ensuring he felt better when he woke up the next day. As a result, Xiao Yunduan never experienced headaches or dizziness after drinking, all thanks to Qiao Xian. Seeing the effectiveness of her efforts, Qiao Xian continued to provide her support. Over time, Xiao Yunduan's alcohol tolerance improved. Naturally, he remained unaware of this development. Prince of Qingdi had been utterly convinced of his defeat. He had been the one to provide the alcohol and had personally indulged in it, yet he still couldn't best Xiao Yunduan. As a man, he had little choice but to concede defeat. Prince of Qingdi held Xiao Yunduan in high regard in every aspect. From that point onward, Prince of Qingdi sought out Xiao Yunduan every few days. While Xiao Yunduan found this quite bothersome, Prince of Qingdi wished to have Xiao Yunduan as his guest. When Crown Prince reported this to the Emperor laughed and agreed. Thus, Xiao Yunduan had no choice but to accompany this prince to various gatherings in the capital, enduring many more rounds of drinking. Chapter 1376, Liu Yan. The advantageous aspect of this was that people became increasingly wary of offending Xiao Yunduan. Prince of Qingdi, for his part, was quite interesting. He even attempted to pay a visit to Xiao Yunduan, but Xiao Yunduan firmly declined the offer. Are you serious? After all, Prince of Qingdi held a sensitive position as the Prince of Qingdi and was a confidant of the Crown Prince. Accompanying the Prince of Qingdi to the capital for official business was one thing, but allowing him into his home as a guest involved a personal relationship. Becoming personal friends with a prince? What intentions did he have, and what were the Crown Prince's plans? Xiao Yunduan, naturally, would not entangle himself in such matters that could potentially give others an opportunity to exploit and create issues. Moreover, if Prince of Qingdi were to visit as a guest, Xiao Yunduan's wife would have to cook for him. Xiao Yunduan couldn't bear the thought of that. He was also concerned that Prince of Qingdi might develop a penchant for free meals. After all, his wife's cooking was exceptional. Following the minor Lunar New Year, this year's weather was exceptionally favorable. The snow had ceased, and temperatures had even risen slightly, sparking the citizens of the capital's enthusiasm. Agricultural work in the fields and farms had long been suspended. Songshi had returned to the Qiao residence, and along with Qing Yan, he was busily accompanying the two masters on shopping trips and to deliver New Year's gifts. Of course, he also received numerous silver rewards. On the 27th day of the 12th lunar month, with all offices closed, Xiao Yunduan had some free time and stayed home with Qiao Xian. They took advantage of the pleasant weather to venture out of the city and inspect their farm. However, upon their return home, as Xiao Yunduan assisted Qiao Xian out of the wagon, a timid voice called out from behind them. "Second miss, second master." Both Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were taken aback. It had been a long time since they had heard these titles, so they momentarily spaced out. Qiao Xian felt that the voice sounded familiar, but she couldn't immediately place it. Turning around, they saw a maidservant wearing a coarse, faded cotton robe. She trembled as she stood not far away, her face pale, and her hair somewhat disheveled. She appeared apprehensive, perhaps due to the cold weather. The maidservant mustered her courage and approached, then knelt down to Qiao. "Second miss, I am Liu Yan." "Second miss, do you still remember me?" "It's you." Recognition lit up in Xiao Xian's eyes. "What are you doing here?" Xiao Yunduan frowned, casting a sharp glance at Liu Yan. The Qiao family had tried to exert control over them through their seniority, but they couldn't gain the upper hand. Qiao Hongxi had even lost his official position and left the capital alone. A series of family troubles had befallen Qiao Wei and Qiao Ko. Third lady of the Qiao family was filled with anger and resentment, but she was powerless to change anything. The other two branches of the Qiao family had become more cautious and dared not entertain any ulterior motives, knowing that their actions could potentially jeopardize old Master Qiao's position. As Xiao Yunduan gained prominence, the first and second branches of the Qiao family regretted their actions. In their frustration, they directed their anger towards the third branch of the family, causing difficulties for the third master and third lady of the Qiao family. The third section of the Qiao family was enduring a difficult period. Third Old Master Qiao had long regretted his decision. If he had known the outcome, he might have remained a local official. What had led him to expend so much effort and resources to return to the capital? But none of this had any direct bearing on Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. When the Qiao family had faded from their lives, they had simply moved on. Chapter 1377. What's the matter? Speak. Unexpectedly, Liu Yan appeared suddenly. Sensing Qiao Xian's somber mood, Liu Yan hastily spoke up. Second miss, I've come with urgent news. I assure you, it's of utmost importance, and I wouldn't deceive you. Qiao Xian exchanged a glance with Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan harbored no fear of the Qiao family, but he understood the delicate political game they were part of. The Qiao family could be a valuable pawn, and he had to tread carefully. With Liu Yan's presence, it seemed prudent to at least hear her out, even if belief remained a separate issue. This isn't the appropriate place for discussion. Let her inside, Qiao Xian said. Come in, Qiao Xian nodded, addressing Liu Yan. Yes, Second Mississippi. Thank you, Second Young Master, Liu Yan responded gratefully, bowing again before following them into the courtyard. As Liu Yan entered the courtyard, her eyes wandered, taking in the surroundings. Though not expansive, the space was immaculately maintained. Sweet osmanthus, pomegranate, and magnolia trees flourished, while meticulously pruned flowers and shrubs added to the charm. One could envision the courtyard's vibrant beauty in the spring. The small yard exuded a warmth and tranquility that the otherwise lifeless Qiao family lacked. Liu Yan couldn't help but steal glances at the second miss and her husband as they walked hand in hand. The pair stood tall and slender, exuding relaxed elegance. They donned cloaks in subtle rose-red and navy-green hues, crafted from exquisite brocade. Hidden within were delicate floral patterns, a testament to understated refinement. Their deerskin boots were finely made, devoid of any traces of their humble past. Liu Yan found herself lost in thought, silently lamenting how drastically things had changed. The old master, his wife, the elder miss, and all the mansion's servants, herself included, could never have imagined that such a short time had brought about such monumental transformations. The old master and his wife were now in dire straits, having fallen into a wretched state. The elder miss, once so proud of her marriage, now faced its ruin and the prospect of staying at home indefinitely, struggling to find a suitable match. Concubine dared not show her face when entering the hall, yet Madame still sought opportunities to humiliate her. Meanwhile, the third miss, who had meddled in the elder miss' personal affairs, had met a bitter end. She had humiliated herself and was relegated to being a mere concubine in the household, with people believing she'd remain there until her demise. In stark contrast, the second miss and the second young master, initially disregarded by Madame and the elder miss, had ascended to affluence and prominence. Inside the house, a Kong bed provided warmth throughout the day, and a large covered charcoal basin burned on the floor, offering a soothing ambience that relaxed their stiff bodies upon entering. Liu Yan couldn't help but release an involuntary sigh and finally shifted her stiffened feet. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan proceeded to the bedroom to change their attire. Li Xia glanced at Liu Yan but noticed her hesitation and remained silent. After changing, the two returned to the brick bed, where Li Qiao promptly served hot tea. Qiao Xian beckoned Liu Yan closer. What's the matter? Speak up. Xiao Yunduan shot him a pointed look, causing Liu Yan to shudder involuntarily. Chapter 1378. Another Vicious Scheme. Liu Yan quickly knelt down again. "Second miss, call me Madame Qiao," Xiao Xian interrupted her. She was no longer the second miss of the Qiao family. "Yes, yes, Madame Qiao. I deserve to die, I have not changed." Liu Yan changed her words in fear and trepidation, her face turning pale. As a maid of the Qiao family, she understood how deep the conflict between Qiao Xian and the Qiao family was, and how much Qiao Xian had been bullied and humiliated by her wife and elder miss when she was still in the intermediate room. She was really muddle-headed. Why did she call her second miss? Seeing her reaction, Qiao Xian did not know what to say. "Just remember, don't call me the wrong name again, but I will not do anything to you because of this. Just tell me the real thing." "Yes, thank you, Madame Qiao." Liu Yan let out a sigh of relief and said, "Madame Qiao, I overheard that someone sneaked into the Qiao family, went to Concubine Du and asked her to come to you for help on New Year's Eve. If you refuse, she will kill herself in front of your house." Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were shocked. Xiao Yunduan said coldly, "How did you hear that? Who said that? Tell me what happened." Liu Yan hurriedly agreed and explained in detail. Concubine Du servants had all been sold out by Mrs. Qiao, so Liu Yan was sent to serve Concubine Du, and because Liu Yan used to serve Qiao Xian at the Qiao family, even though it was Qiao Wei who asked her to go, so that she could keep an eye on Qiao Xian and make trouble for her, but Qiao Wei disliked her because of her past, and she would get angry and scold her from time to time, so Liu Yan was not going to complain. Liu Yan was also having a hard time at the Qiao family. Or rather, the entire third section was not having a good time. Yesterday, Liu Yan inadvertently overheard an unfamiliar nanny engaged in an intriguing conversation with Concubine Du. The nanny mentioned that if Concubine Du were to agree, her master would intervene to assist Qiao Ko in returning to her husband's family, ensuring they would never dare to mistreat her again. Despite Concubine Du's desire to seek refuge in the temple and live a monastic life, Third Madame Qiao remained relentless in her torment. Concubine Du, at the mercy of Third Madame Qiao, had been leading a wretched existence. Desperate to help her daughter, she hastily agreed, barely giving it a second thought. Following her acquiescence, the mysterious nanny provided detailed instructions before making her departure. Liu Yan couldn't identify the nanny, but she was certain that the individual was not part of the Qiao family. The Qiao family's situation had deteriorated significantly, having not only lost a substantial number of servants but also grown lax in their security measures. It wouldn't have been challenging for an outsider to infiltrate the mansion and manipulate matters with a bribe or two. This revelation deeply unsettled Liu Yan, leaving her feeling extremely uneasy. She realized that if Concubine Du had indeed taken such actions, it could spell trouble for her, as she was responsible for serving Aunt Zhao. After careful consideration, she made the discreet decision to approach Qiao Xian with this information. Qiao Xian's heart raced as she clenched her teeth in response to the sinister plot unfolding before them. What a malicious scheme it was! Despite its apparent simplicity, if it succeeded, it could result in significant trouble for them both. Would Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan extend their support to Concubine Du and Qiao Ko? Absolutely not. Chapter 1379. Save me from the Qiao family. They were under no obligation to assist Qiao Xian. Not only had they refrained from aiding Qiao Xian, but they had also gone out of their way to curry favor with Third Lady and Qiao Wei. Particularly Qiao Ko, who acted as Qiao Wei's confidant and strategist, had provided Qiao Wei with numerous ideas to demean and belittle Qiao Xian. Their misfortune was entirely self-inflicted. Qiao Xian had already been remarkably lenient by merely observing their predicaments without intervening. Assisting them was an unimaginable prospect. If Concubine Du were to actually take her own life in front of the Qiao family residence after being refused, it would undoubtedly trigger an outcry, potentially branding them as heartless and callous individuals. In such a dire circumstance, no matter how innocent they might be, blame would inevitably fall upon them. Furthermore, given the long-standing enmity between the two families, it wouldn't be unreasonable for others to assume that Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan harbored ill intentions towards Concubine. Many would readily believe it. I speak the truth. I would never deceive Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Liu Yan asserted earnestly. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan exchanged glances, their anger still simmering but not overwhelming their senses. They contemplated the possibility that Liu Yan's words might hold some truth, but they also recognized it as merely one potential scenario. Liu Yan served the Qiao family, and her servitude was under the dominion of third Madame Qiao. There was no way to ascertain whether she had acted independently or if she was a pawn manipulated by the Qiao family to set a trap. It was widely known that the emperor strongly disapproved of disturbances during the new year. The individuals who had come to the Xiao Yunduan residence seeking assistance had already taken a considerable risk. After a moment of reflection, Qiao Xian spoke in a composed tone. Whether this is true or not, time will reveal the reality. Your kindness in coming here is appreciated. However, it's getting late, and it's best for you to return home now to avoid any trouble. Li Xia, give her with 50 taels of silver. Of course, madam. Liu Yan's anxiety reached a breaking point as she knelt and implored, Madame Xiao, I don't want the money. I beg you, could you please help me leave the Qiao family? I'll be devoted to serving Madame Xiao and will never betray you. I can't endure staying in the Qiao family any longer. Please, I beseech you, Madame Xiao. Xiao Yunduan responded with cold detachment. We have no shortage of servants, and even if we did, we would not consider anyone from the Qiao family. Do not bring this up again. Li Xia, fetch 200 taels of silver, enough for her to secure her freedom and depart from the Qiao family. But, sir, Liu Yan began. Li Xia, Li Qiao, escort her out, Xiao Yunduan commanded. No, no, Lord Xiao, please take me in. Madame Xiao, have mercy. Liu Yan pleaded, her terror and desperation evident as tears streamed down her face. She cried and begged relentlessly. Li Xia and Li Qiao struggled to move her due to her emotional state. Qiao Xian, growing increasingly irritated, snapped, Enough. You're being insufferable. Don't assume you can make demands just because you've come here with information about us. We have no obligation to grant your request. We want to involve ourselves further with the Qiao family, and you're a part of them. If word gets out, it won't reflect well on us. Who knows what people will say? Liu Yan hastily proposed, Madam, I can return to Xiaoding village. I promise not to leave before I reach Xiaoding village. I won't cause any trouble for you. When you have the opportunity, please send me back to Xiaoding village. I can serve old Madame Xiao. Please, madam. Tears welled in Liu Yan's eyes, and though she wished to cry, fear kept her from doing so. She trembled and couldn't help but whimper. Chapter 1380. It should be true. It wasn't until she returned to the Qiao family that she realized the shortest period she had ever lived was during her stay with the Xiao family in Xiaoding village. The atmosphere within the Qiao family had grown increasingly dismal and stifling. She found herself yearning more and more for those past days. She had harbored the temptation for a long time, often contemplating how wonderful it would be if the elder miss didn't insist on sending her back to the Qiao family but instead assigned her to serve the second Mississippi. This time, overhearing the clandestine exchange between Concubine Du and the elderly woman had finally emboldened her to take the first step. She understood that this was her singular opportunity, one that wouldn't come again. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had not anticipated her request. Qiao Xian responded, We can discuss this later. You can leave now. We need time to think. Liu Yan gazed at them, her eyes pleading, as if she were about to beg once more. Xiao Yunduan's tone turned icy. If you don't grasp the situation, refrain from bringing up any other matters. Do you believe you can make demands simply because we're approachable? Your plea is starting to sound like an ultimatum. Liu Yan, it appears you've overstepped your boundaries. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. Liu Yan's entire body turned cold from fear as she fervently kowtowed. I acknowledge my mistake. I acknowledge my mistake. I'll leave immediately, Get out. Yes, yes. Trembling, Liu Yan quickly rose to her feet, repeatedly nodding and bowing. She dared not request anything more. With hurried, faltering steps, she left. Qiao Xian raised an eyebrow and chuckled wryly. Her husband had been correct. Liu Yan had spent a considerable amount of time in Shouting Village with her. Perhaps it was a subconscious sentiment, but it certainly explained her persistence. She genuinely believed that Qiao Xian was kind-hearted and wouldn't turn her away, which was why she continued to disregard their instructions and persistently pester them. She was certain that she would never dare to persistently pester them again and again in front of her mother and Xiao Wei. Some individuals knew their boundaries and were appreciative, like Li Xia, Li Qiao, and Songshi. Then there were those who were skilled in self-preservation and instinctively seized every opportunity to further their own interests, such as Liu Yan. Moreover, she had no desire to maintain any association with the Qiao family. Even if she had considered retaining Liu Yan, she had changed her mind after this revelation. Keeping someone like her could potentially spell disaster. Husband, do you believe what she said? Qiao Xian inquired. Xiao Yunduan pondered for a moment before responding, it appears to be true. Concubine Du and Qiao Ko had exhibited such audacity as to conspire against Qiao Wei's family right in front of Third Lady Qiao. Qiao Wei hadn't even entered into discussions about marriage yet, thus, her resentment toward them was unsurprising. Qiao Ko was now part of the Ning family, rendering her beyond the reach of the Qiao family's third lady. It wasn't difficult to imagine the dire straits Concubine Du must be facing within the Qiao family, certainly worse than death. Handling third Madame Qiao and Qiao Wei was no easy feat if they could extend assistance to Qiao Ko, Concubine Du, who had likely been pushed to the brink of despair, would probably accept. Liu Yan's demeanor suggested that she was genuinely anxious and not manipulating the situation. If she had been inclined to lie, she could have easily achieved her goal by requesting a favor and receiving a substantial sum of money from Qiao Xian, then departing contentedly. Instead, her anxiety had led her to beg them and express a willingness to return to Shouting Village to serve old Madame Xiao. Chapter 1381, Really Here? Qiao Xian chuckled, saying, I agree. Let's wait and see. Xiao Yunduan nodded in agreement. On the eve of the Lunar New Year, Concubine Du would inevitably come to plead for mercy. If it turns out to be true, Liu Yan has presented us with a significant opportunity. We should retrieve her indenture. If she's willing, we can arrange for her to leave the capital and provide her with 200 taels of silver as a dowry to secure a proper marriage. They didn't need to seek out wealthy families, but they would certainly avoid placing her with an unsuitable one. As long as she was willing to lead a quiet and obedient life, finding a family that offered stability wouldn't be too challenging. They couldn't provide too much silver, as having an excessive amount could attract unnecessary trouble for a smaller family. With 200 taels, she could construct a respectable green brick tiled house, acquire over 10 mues of land, and still have a significant sum set aside for emergencies. With diligence, her life would be comfortable. Afterward, they could all go their separate ways, with no need for further entanglement. Xiao Yunduan smiled and commented, that sounds like a great plan. If she has any sense, she'll realize it's the best outcome for her. With their decision made, they eagerly awaited New Year's Eve. In the early morning, spring couplets, door guardians, window decorations, red lanterns, and firecrackers adorned the area. Every household in the alley brimmed with festive cheer and activity. Children ran about with exuberance, undeterred by the cold weather, adding to the vibrant ambience of the already spirited New Year's celebration. Children held a particular fondness for the holiday. They donned the new clothes they had eagerly preserved and pocketed snacks they couldn't bear to eat at home. Most importantly, they knew that on this special day, no matter what mischief they got up to, the adults wouldn't scold them. Such leniency was a rare treat. Inside their mansion, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan busied themselves with New Year preparations. After pasting the couplets, they entered the house. The house was as warm as spring, and the Kong bed was warm. The two large braziers in the house were also burning vigorously. The daffodils, crabapples, and orchids had long bloomed. There were also emerald green calamus, bamboo, and devil's ivy, adding a touch of bright color to the house. The fragrance of the flowers was slightly intoxicating because of the warmth. The evening's menu had been decided upon a few days prior and preparations were well underway. The large seafood soup had simmered on the stove, perfectly timed for the evening feast. Among the planned dishes were mushroom-stewed chicken, braised venison, stir-fried mutton with green onions, braised carp, chili-infused stir-fried meat, sautéed winter bamboo shoots, and sour and spicy cabbage to complete the auspicious number. Around 10:30 a.m., a series of knocks echoed at the yard's entrance. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan exchanged knowing glances, surmising that their expected guests had arrived. "Second miss. Second young master. Please open the door. Open the door, I implore you." Concubine Du's voice carried a sharp, anguished tone, almost resembling a cry. It was truly distressing to hear. Fortunately, it was daytime. Had this occurred at night, one might have believed the gates of the netherworld had swung open, unleashing a tormented spirit from the depths of hell. "You are right," Qiao Xian remarked with a wry smile to Xiao Yunduan. "Let's go out and see." "Indeed we must," Xiao Yunduan agreed. The two of them led the way, with Li Xia, Li Qiao, Songshi, and Qingyan trailing behind, as they proceeded to open the door. As it was New Year's Eve, most families were at home. Upon hearing Concubine Du's cries, a crowd had gathered to witness the unfolding spectacle. They encircled Concubine Du, engaging in hushed discussions amongst themselves. Chapter 1382, No Loss. Xiao Yunduan surveyed the crowd and noticed several unfamiliar faces brimming with curiosity, seemingly reveling in the spectacle. They chatted animatedly with those around them, suggesting this was a carefully orchestrated performance. These unfamiliar faces, enthusiastically fanning the flames and spreading gossip, were likely individuals sent to instigate and sow discord. Xiao Yunduan understood the situation all too well. The Crown Prince had recently faced unjust accusations before the new year, and the fourth prince was still riding high in popularity. Regardless of his personal inclinations, he wouldn't dare to confront the Crown Prince head-on. Even if he was unaware of Xiao Yunduan's involvement in the matter, Xiao Yunduan had no familial ties within this area, and a prior rift had existed between them. It was sufficient for the fourth prince to vent his frustrations on Xiao Yunduan. Furthermore, having such a useful pawn within the Qiao family meant there was no need for him to take direct action. He simply needed to bribe a few troublemakers to stir the pot, incite the crowd, and fuel the rumors. Why wouldn't he employ such tactics? After all, even if it failed, he wouldn't bear any consequences. When Concubine Du spotted Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, she abruptly halted, her words at her eyes widening and her mouth falling agape as she gazed at them in disbelief. It wasn't entirely her fault for being so dense. It had been a considerable amount of time since their last encounter, and this pair of remarkably handsome and poised individuals were none other than Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, the figures from the village. A profound wave of resentment and envy surged within her. How contemptible! What right did they have? Why did she and her daughter endure endless suffering while Qiao Xian lived a life of comfort? Qiao Xian, this humble girl, couldn't possibly compare to her own daughter. She should be the one enjoying such good fortune. Regret welled up within her as she couldn't help but lament what might have been. If only her daughter had married Xiao Yunduan, she could have been the esteemed lady of the house, and even she would have reaped the benefits. However, the reality was far from her wishes. Incensed, Concubine Du shot an accusatory glare at Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, intensifying her cries. "Second miss, second master, I implore you to save third miss. Second miss, when you resided in the pavilion, third miss and I ensured your well-being. During winter, we secretly provided you with warm clothing, charcoal, hot meals, and rice. How could you endure such meager fare in the scorching summer? Third miss would frequently send servants to deliver your own meals in secret. Whenever you fell ill, It was always I who covertly arranged for a physician to prepare medicine for you. Woo, second miss, have you forgotten? At first, I hesitated to burden second miss, but third miss' suffering is beyond measure. Despite my lowly status, I am still her biological mother. How could I bear to see her in such agony? I beseech second miss to save third Mississippi. Please, just utter a word, and third miss' situation will greatly improve. No matter what you ask of me, I will agree to it. I only beg you to rescue third miss. I will kowtow to you. I will kowtow to young master. I beg of you. Concubine appeared frail and emaciated, with most of her hair turned white. She wore tattered clothing, and her complexion had become sallow. She appeared so fragile that a gust of wind could easily sweep her away. Chapter 1383, Concubine Does Ideas. Her cries were heart-wrenching, her pleas desperate, evoking profound sympathy from those who witnessed and heard her anguish. Such a pitiable sight. The crowd of onlookers engaged in spirited discussions. Of course, they were unfamiliar with Concubine Does' identity. Of course, she had no knowledge of what Concubine Do was referring to. In this moment, the troublemakers and conniving elderly women dispersed among the crowd were proving quite effective. When others inquired out of curiosity, they took the opportunity to provide explanations, all heavily biased in favor of Concubine Do. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan exchanged a glance, a sense of frustration washing over them. Qiao Xian remained silent. There was no point in arguing. Concubine Do's pitiful appearance had clearly garnered sympathy from everyone, delivered with such heartfelt and tearful sincerity. Hashan County was distant from the capital, and the events at the county office remained shrouded in mystery. Qiao Xian lacked concrete evidence. Concubine Du had successfully cast doubt upon her. To refute these claims would be futile, as no one would believe her. It would only appear ungrateful. Li Qiao, assist Concubine Du to her feet, Qiao Xian uttered slowly. I prefer to resolve matters amicably rather than engage in melodrama. Yes, madam. Li Qiao, and Songshi were well aware of the past events. Witnessing Concubine Du's distortions of truth, their anger surged. Second miss, please extend your aid to third Mississippi. Please, Concubine Du sobbed uncontrollably. Despite her reluctance, Concubine Du found herself unable to resist the determined efforts of Li Xia and Li Qiao, who, with surprising strength, forcibly lifted her to her feet from both sides. Don't cry, Concubine Du, Xiao Xian implored. Concubine Du's sobs only grew louder. Please, second miss. Li Xia raised her voice. Concubine Du, it's New Year's and you can speak your mind freely. Why cry in front of our old master and madam? I can't help but wonder if you were really as virtuous as you claim to be. Concubine Du responded in a hushed tone. I didn't mean to. I'm just concerned about third miss. But you're here to resolve the matter, aren't you? Qiao Xian interjected. Your excessive crying doesn't seem appropriate, does it? Inwardly cursing, Concubine Du lowered her head and wiped away her tears, attempting to stifle her sobs. Second miss, you are absolutely right. It's my fault. I shouldn't have distressed second miss. Qiao Xian felt utterly repulsed. An elderly woman among the onlookers exclaimed, Isn't this a bit too heartless? As a biological mother, she adores her daughter and isn't even allowed to shed tears? Has she forgotten the kindness she received in the past after achieving some success? That's right. I genuinely pity this concubine. That's correct. Mother and daughter share a deep bond. It's natural for her to shed tears. Xiao Yunduan cast a discreet glance at someone in the crowd. The individual nodded subtly. Shortly afterward, someone targeted the elderly woman, pulling her away without explanation. What are you doing? What's going on? Xiao Yunduan had limited manpower at his disposal, but the East Palace had a significant number of people. Concerned that a major incident might occur on this day, Xiao Yunduan had sought assistance from the Crown Prince in advance. Earlier that morning, a contingent of Eastern Palace guards had donned disguises and had been discreetly patrolling the vicinity. Not everyone in the crowd immediately converged on the scene. The opposing faction was not the sole group present among the onlookers. Chapter 1384. Fighting for Injustice. Qiao Xian sneered. What's the matter? I'm engaged in a serious conversation with Concubine Du here. What's your agenda? Who sent you? What are you up to? The elderly woman was taken aback. She straightened her posture and retorted with confidence. What nonsense are you spouting? I don't understand. I was merely passing by, observing the commotion. Is there something wrong with speaking out against injustice and sharing a few words of truth? Are you suggesting that you're the only one entitled to express yourself? Oh, the state of this world. Qiao Xian responded icily. No one's stopping you from voicing your opinions, but if someone intends to cause trouble, they want to escape consequences easily. You don't strike me as a local resident. Where are you from? Where's your home? What's your purpose here on New Year's Eve, and why the sudden concern for fairness? The elderly woman became increasingly flustered. She hadn't anticipated Qiao Xian's relentless interrogation. Answering these questions would surely reveal her true intentions. Growing more flustered, the elderly woman retorted, Why should it matter where I'm from or what I'm up to? Am I not allowed to come and go freely? Oh my, madam, you're quite the tyrant. Some of the neighbors didn't have the warmest feelings towards Qiao Xian, but they had generally amicable relationships with her and her husband. Qiao Xian's probing questions made it clear that something was amiss. You're right, Madame Xiao. This woman doesn't seem familiar, and her presence here on New Year's Eve is indeed suspicious. Yes, could there be some sort of ulterior motive? At any rate, this elderly woman has a shifty look about her. She doesn't strike me as a well-intentioned person. I concur. Second Miss, please come to Third Miss aid. Second Miss, consider our past interactions and help Third Mississippi were prepared to assist in any way. Moved by this, Concubine Du once again pleaded tearfully, on the verge of kneeling, but Li Xia and Li Qiao intervened swiftly to prevent her from doing so. Xiao Yunduan spoke up, Since Concubine Du has requested it, let's discuss this matter openly. Songshi, please enlighten us on Miss Qiao's situation. Yes, old master, Songshi replied obediently. She had been waiting for the Qiao family matter to be resolved, and now she began recounting the events surrounding Qiao Kou's involvement in taking Qiao Wei away. She carefully avoided using the word snatch, as she lacked concrete evidence. Only the Qiao family and the Ning family were privy to the truth. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had made inquiries, but it wasn't common knowledge. However, when it was revealed that the eldest miss of the Qiao family, the third daughter, had been married to Miss Qiao, the audience exchanged knowing glances. There was very little left to misunderstand. Concubine Du, overwhelmed by anger and distress, began to weep, exclaiming, No. Third Miss was framed. It was Elder Miss who disapproved of this marriage and schemed against Third Mississippi. She's innocent, or I wouldn't have implored Second Miss. I find that hard to believe. How could a concubine's daughter dare to— Wait, what are you doing? A ruffian tried to support Concubine Du, but before he could complete his sentence, two disguised guards promptly dragged him out. Behave yourself, one guard scolded. And what about you? You're not a local, are you? Where did you come from? Are you merely passing through, championing justice? The hooligan was left speechless, as the neighbors erupted into laughter. Now, all eyes were fixed on Concubine Du with even greater intensity. Chapter 1385. Lord Xiao is too amazing. Initially, they had placed 99% trust in her account. When the elderly woman was apprehended, their faith dropped to 70%. Now, their confidence in her narrative had dwindled to less than 30%. Was it mere coincidence? A happenstance passerby? A champion of justice? In their minds, such coincidences simply didn't exist. The hooligan sneered, And who might you two be? Are you targeting me specifically? Xiao Yunduan responded with composure. Certainly, I invited him. I had heard that there might be trouble today, so I took precautions. I didn't anticipate running into you before the troublemaker showed up. The ruffian found himself at a loss for words. The elderly woman, too, appeared somewhat dumbfounded. The other ruffians and elderly women in the crowd discreetly adjusted their expressions. Who would dare make a move now? How many more individuals might be hidden among them? Lord Xiao had proven himself formidable. Concubine Du, although fuming, had a growing suspicion that Xiao Yunduan's remarks were directed at her. Nevertheless, having come this far, she had no intentions of retreating. So what if they had foreknowledge of her intentions to disrupt the event? Her motives extended beyond mere disruption. Madam and the eldest miss had no intentions of granting her an easy escape. Her life had already been filled with torment, with no glimmer of hope. If sacrificing her meager existence could aid her daughter, she was more than willing to do so. Concubine Du made a resolute decision and sobbed, "Second miss, I'm speaking the truth. Please, second miss, don't believe the rumors. You're unjustly accusing third miss. Old master and madam favor elder miss above all, and third miss is just the daughter of a concubine. How could she ever compete with them? I was initially afraid to challenge or voice my grievances, but third miss' suffering has become unbearable. I'm even willing to sacrifice my life to vindicate my innocence. I beseech second miss for help." With these words, Concubine Du managed to break free from Li Xia and Li Qiao's grasp and rushed toward the wall. Though Li Xia and Li Qiao had been prepared, they had underestimated the desperation of someone willing to die. Concubine Du eluded their grasp. A collective gasp of shock rippled through the crowd. Qiao Xian's expression shifted drastically. Thankfully, Sun Bai acted with lightning speed, kicking Concubine Du aside. Concubine Du let out a pained groan as she tumbled to the ground. Li Xia and Li Qiao, who were petrified with fear, rushed forward and held her firmly, their faces dripping with cold sweat, their impulse being to shake some sense into Concubine Du, this troublemaker. Qiao Xian breathed a sigh of relief, her palms damp with perspiration. Xiao Yunduan held her hands and whispered reassuringly, "Don't fret." He couldn't afford to underestimate the fourth prince. Since he had sought the crown prince's assistance, he had likely planned for every contingency. The maneuver was executed against Concubine Du. Qiao Xian bellowed, "Concubine Du, we have nothing against each other, and you came to my house to end your life. If you go through with it, won't it also be my fault? Your intentions are unforgivably malicious. You've certainly earned your title as a mother. Whether Qiao Ko is truly wronged is a matter for Qiao Wei and the Ning family to determine, not you. You don't hold the ultimate authority in this situation. However, it's an indisputable fact that she meddled in Qiao Wei's marriage. Third Madam Qiao is venting her anger on your behalf, and you can't paint yourself as entirely innocent or pitiable. Your own failure lies in not instilling proper values in Qiao Ko. All of these issues are entirely unrelated to me. The troubles of the Qiao family have no bearing on me whatsoever. It's absurd that you turn to me for such matters." Chapter 1386. Maybe punishment. You concocted those words entirely on your own. Listen to yourself, don't make a mockery of your own words. You're well aware of what you and your mother put me through in the past. Don't think you can spew baseless accusations with impunity. You claim to have done me a favor? What a laughable notion. Concubine Du, her voice trembling with tears, said, "Second miss is no longer the person she used to be. If you refuse to acknowledge it, I have nothing more to say." "Is that so?" Xiao Yunduan responded icily. "Why should my wife admit to fabrications? My wife is compassionate, and she used to overlook the past, but you've pushed her too far. You're twisting the truth and attempting to shift blame. Since you're intent on pushing this to the brink, I'll grant your wish." At Xiao Yunduan's command, the undercover guards hidden among the crowd acted as one, swiftly apprehending the suspicious individuals causing a commotion. Naturally, those individuals vehemently denied any involvement, struggling and shouting in protest. "Let go of me! What's going on? What's going on? Help! We're being unjustly treated!" "Silence!" The lead guard, without waiting for Xiao Yunduan's instruction, slapped the nearest hooligan across the face and sneered, "Keep hollering, and we'll send you straight to the Heavenly Mansion office." The hooligans fell silent instinctively, no longer daring to resist or shout out. If they were truly handed over to the authorities, their backgrounds would be exposed, and they might face severe consequences. "Oh!" A neighbor within the crowd exclaimed in astonishment, pointing at someone and whispering, "I know that person. He's from West 13th Street, they all call him Dog 3. "What's he doing here?" another person murmured. "And that one, see the scar on the left side of his face? Looks like a lowlife from Mixed Horse City. These individuals are no reputable citizens. What a stroke of luck. Why would these people be here to witness the commotion? There's no such thing as luck. Someone must have summoned them here." Xiao Yunduan cast a stern gaze at the apprehended individuals. "Are you going to confess, or should I send you to the Heavenly Mansion?" In response, the individuals exchanged uneasy glances, and one of them immediately cried out, "Lord Xiao, I beg for clemency. I'm just a humble person. I would never dare to create trouble for Lord Xiao. Someone offered me 20 taels of silver and asked me to assist this woman in causing a ruckus. I deeply regret my greed. I still have the money, I'd rather return it. Please spare my life, Lord Xiao." Once one person started, the rest quickly followed suit, all pleading for mercy. Their stories were similar, but the sums of silver were not consistent. Some had been offered 20 taels, others 30, and some a mere 10. It was their own greed that had lured them into this predicament. What led them to defy the officials of the imperial court and the crown prince was the promise of quick riches. They typically engaged in all sorts of illicit activities but were well aware of their place within the capital. They knew better than to provoke those they shouldn't cross. Originally, they had believed they could make a substantial profit while remaining hidden in the crowd, inciting trouble without ever showing their faces. It seemed like a cost-effective scheme. However, they hadn't anticipated getting apprehended and exposed. It was a humiliating predicament. Out of the 7 individuals captured, 3 had managed to evade capture, having hidden themselves well. However, these 7 people were enough to explain the problem. Chapter 1387. Serves you right to Concubine. Thus expression darkened. I had nothing to do with this. I don't know them. I didn't summon them." Qiao Xian sneered. "Of course, Concubine do. It's not you, and it has nothing to do with you. They just coincidentally strolled by and decided to take your side." Laughter erupted among the neighbors. Xiao Yunduan questioned, "Do you expect us to believe your words?" Concubine Du persisted, "I swear, I had no part in bringing them here." Qiao Xian challenged, "Will you swear that if your daughter, Qiao Ko, conspires against Qiao Wei's marriage, she'll face a solitary, unsupported existence for the rest of her life?" Concubine Du conveniently ignored Xiao Xian's remark and continued shaking her head. "It's not related to me. I didn't summon these individuals. Third miss is innocent. Second miss, please help her." Before Qiao Xian could respond, the neighbors burst into laughter. "Absolutely, it's all just a chance encounter." "That's correct. These troublemakers are here to support Concubine Du." "Well, what a remarkable coincidence. I used to think she was a pitiable woman, and she fooled me with her pretense of innocence. I told you, Madame Xiao and Lord Xiao aren't ungrateful. Regardless, it's inhumane to meddle in my sister's marriage." "Exactly. She deserves to be schooled by the mansion's mistress. Indeed, she's getting what she deserves. She tried to take her own life in front of Lord Xiao's residence to force Madame Xiao to assist her daughter. She's quite ruthless. Isn't she afraid of death? Who isn't afraid of death? I think she'd rather endure the mistress' wrath than continue living. Look at her, she's neither here nor there. It's clear how wretched she's been." That's true. Concubine Du was overwhelmed with shock, anger, and anxiety. She seethed with fury, resentment, and indignation. Casting a furious glare at Xiao Xian, she lashed out, "You wretch! You've hurt my daughter, it's all you're doing. You've incurred the wrath of the old master and his wife, but it's us who bear the brunt of it. This is all your fault. You wretch, you're going to pay for this. Silence her and bind her." Xiao Yunduan ordered. Qin Yen hurried back to the courtyard, fetched a piece of cloth and a length of hemp rope, and together with 3 or 4 others, securely tied up Concubine Du. Their patience had worn thin due to her foul language, and they showed no mercy as they bound her. Li Xia and Li Qiao even took the opportunity to pinch her a couple of times. Xiao Xian sneered and breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. It was clear that Concubine Du had no intentions of showing her any kindness and seemed eager to vent her anger on her. It was evident that her previous claims were all baseless. Xiao Yunduan paid no further attention to the 7 hooligans. He had no intentions of letting them go. He didn't even inquire about who had employed them for this scheme. It was highly unlikely that the 4th prince would leave any trace for him to uncover. These individuals probably had no information about the true orchestrator and wouldn't be able to identify them. Nonetheless, he couldn't simply release them without consequence. That would be too lenient and allow them to underestimate him. Xiao Yunduan compelled them to surrender the money they'd received and distributed it as a reward to the East Palace guards. He issued threats and reprimands, forcing them to swear they'd never attempt such actions again before finally releasing them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1388, Currying Favor. After expressing their gratitude to the neighbors for their impartiality, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian escorted Concubine Du back to the Qiao family residence. The Qiao family's abode was in a state of disrepair, with no noticeable security measures in place. Thus, no one noticed Concubine Du leaving the premises. The sight of her return took Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan by surprise. Upon hearing that Lord Qiao and Madame Qiao had arrived, 3rd Old Master Qiao was so taken aback that he initially believed they had come to celebrate the new year. To his astonishment, before he could even muster a smile, he beheld Concubine Du, bound and gagged. His welcoming words were caught in his throat, his shock and anger palpable as he stuttered, What's happening here?" 3rd Mrs. Qiao sneered, "Old Master, can't you see it? Lord Qiao and Madame Qiao wield immense power. The Qiao family is but an eyesore to them, and they can simply take whatever they desire." Madame Lady Qiao shot a piercing glare at Qiao Xian, as if trying to retrieve what Qiao Xian had supposedly stolen from the Qiao family. She was about to unleash a tirade when Xiao Yunduan directed a meaningful look at the East Palace guards and suggested, "Why not allow them to explain the situation, so that no one can accuse us of bullying you?" The East Palace guards represented the Crown Prince of the East Palace, and openly challenging them was not a proposition anyone would dare undertake. Madame Lady Qiao was taken aback and instinctively held her tongue. In the end, she didn't relinquish her hope that the Qiao family might one day reclaim its former glory. Her eldest and 3rd sons were both officials of the imperial court, and her grandson aspired to pass the imperial examination and attain an official position. She couldn't risk needlessly offending the East Palace. Though they were merely guards of the East Palace, they were not individuals the Qiao family could easily provoke. On the contrary, it was in their best interest to seek favor with them. Madame Lady Qiao put on a strained smile. "Ah, it's the East Palace guards. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, please have a seat in the room and enjoy some tea." The Qiao brothers were about to agree when Sun Bai arched an eyebrow. "No need, we'll keep it brief." He had little patience for dealing with the Qiao family. Gesturing toward Concubine Du, he recounted the events that had unfolded. A wave of shock swept through the entire Qiao family. 3rd Old Master Qiao glared at Concubine Du and hastily disavowed any involvement, stating, "I had nothing to do with this. I had no idea that this woman was so audacious." Madam Lady Qiao sneered at Qiao Xian. You owe a debt of gratitude to Concubine Du, and this is how you treat your benefactor? You are truly ruthless. Qiao Xian retorted sharply, if you're not senile, don't speak without thinking. Are you ignorant of what kind of person Concubine Du is? Are you unaware of the nature of Qiao? Do you honestly believe that she and her mother will treat me kindly? She bribed a hooligan to create chaos on New Year's Eve and even tried to take her own life in front of my residence to intimidate me. She may be a devoted mother, but that has nothing to do with me. She's out to harm me. If you're so insistent, why don't you visit the Heavenly Mansion office to clarify the situation? I won't tolerate being unjustly accused. Xiao Yunduan added coldly, we've been exceedingly lenient, never resorting to force even when the odds were against you. Madam Lady Qiao sneered and was about to retaliate when old Master Qiao cleared his throat, interrupting her. Mother, please refrain from further comment. In her fit of anger, his mother might not have cared, but he couldn't permit her to behave recklessly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1389. How disgusting Xiao Yunduan's remarks led Third Old Master Qiao to abandon any thoughts of exploiting the situation. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had refrained from seeking vengeance on the Qiao family, and if they were provoked to retaliate, it could jeopardize his position. Moreover, life for the Qiao family in the capital would become even more arduous. The Qiao family lacked the confidence to challenge Xiao Yunduan. Madam Lady Qiao glowered at Qiao Xian, her dissatisfaction palpable, but she had to yield to the wishes of her eldest son. She then directed her glare at Concubine Du once more. In her view, this inept woman didn't even know how to end her own life. If she had successfully taken her own life in front of Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian's residence, the Qiao family could have demanded justice on her behalf. But instead she had survived, with someone capturing her and returning her home, causing immense embarrassment. Madam Lady Qiao wasn't concerned about Concubine Du's reputation. Her primary aim was to humiliate Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. She suggested, if this woman is so malicious, the Qiao family can't possibly shelter her any longer. Since she has offended Lord Xiao and Madam Xiao, please remove her from our premises. We will deal with Lord Xiao and Madam Xiao as we see fit. Her proposition was utterly repugnant. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan couldn't simply take Concubine Du with them. Doing so would only create more problems. Xiao Yunduan chose to disregard Madam Lady Qiao's words and turned to Third Old Master. Officer Qiao, I have a few inquiries for you. May I proceed? Hearing his former son-in-law address him as Officer Qiao, in such a detached and businesslike manner, Third Old Master Qiao's heart ached. A reprehensible individual had triumphed. A reprehensible individual had triumphed. He had not acted in this manner in the past. The East Palace guards fixed their gazes upon him, rendering it impossible for Third Master Qiao to disregard Xiao Yunduan. This situation needed resolution, as these individuals wouldn't depart otherwise. The longer the deadlock persisted, the more detrimental it would be. Furthermore, with their current predicament, they couldn't afford to slight Xiao Yunduan. Could he afford to flaunt his father-in-law's status in such circumstances? Reluctantly, Third Old Master Qiao walked over. Madam Lady Qiao signaled to her husband and her brother-in-law, and they followed her lead. However, Sun Bai reached out to halt them, stating, "Please wait. Lord Xiao didn't request your presence." The two old masters of the Qiao family seethed with anger. What did he mean by, Lord Xiao didn't request your presence? Who did he think he was? Though they muttered silently, they dared not provoke the East Palace entourage. All they could do was stop with a resentful expression. Yunduan, Officer Qiao, would you prefer to relocate somewhere else? Xiao Yunduan interrupted. What? Third Old Master Qiao was left dumbfounded. Xiao Yunduan cast a meaningful look in his direction and spoke slowly, Officer Qiao, if you're considering relocating somewhere else, I might be able to assist you. Third Old Master Qiao was immediately stirred by this proposition. Regrets had haunted him for a long time. Initially, he had harbored high hopes that his return to the capital would yield rapid advancements and a flourishing career. Little did he anticipate that, after squandering a considerable sum of money, he would only deteriorate further. Moreover, it appeared that he would never attain a higher position again in his lifetime. His mother, siblings, and in-laws held him accountable, even though he hadn't been the one to sever all ties with Qiao Xian. They had initiated the estrangement. His children had become the subject of endless jests. He felt a deep sense of shame when mingling as a guest. How he yearned for the freedom to depart the capital. As a local government official, he held a position of leadership and could lead if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1390. Hard to guard against Third Old Master Qiao was overjoyed and found himself developing a more favorable view of Xiao Yunduan. He spoke with a friendly smile. "Yunduan, you still care for me." Xiao Yunduan responded, "Officer Qiao, please just address me as Lord Xiao. Your words are quite misleading." Third Old Master Qiao had believed that Xiao Yunduan was aware of his struggles in the capital and had come to his aid. Even though Xiao Yunduan hadn't explicitly mentioned it, he sensed a degree of concern from his former son-in-law. Just as he was about to exchange a few more warm sentiments, a figurative bucket of ice-cold water was metaphorically dumped on him. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but stifle a laugh at the expression of shock on Third Old Master Qiao's face. Where had he found the audacity to think that this was done for his benefit? "Officer Qiao, please don't misinterpret my intentions. I simply believe that it would be advantageous for my wife and me if you were to depart the capital." With the third branch of the family relocated elsewhere, particularly Third Old Master Qiao, there would be no prior connections between the first branch of the family, the second branch of the family, and Qiao Xian. Since there was no familial bond, no one could manipulate the Qiao family to potentially cause them any distress. Xiao Yunduan was informed about the third lady of the Qiao family but remained uncertain whether she would resort to such extreme measures as Concubine. You could never predict what would transpire next. Third Old Master Qiao seethed with anger and responded stiffly, "Let me consider this." Xiao Yunduan didn't tolerate his dithering. "Officer Qiao, you should contemplate it now. I won't wait for you if you take too long." Third Old Master Qiao was further incensed, torn between the desire to restore his dignity and the worry that he might not succeed. Ultimately, he couldn't resist the allure of such an opportunity and admitted somewhat begrudgingly, "I suppose it's better to serve as a county magistrate and contribute to the imperial court. I can become a magistrate in either Shandong or Jiangnan." Xiao Yunduan glanced at him, her disbelief palpable. He truly had no reservations. Prefectures in Shandong and Jiangnan? He was genuinely bold. "Only Fujian County Magistrate. Officer Qiao, do you accept?" "What?" Third Old Master Qiao retorted indignantly, "This is unreasonable." Xiao Yunduan replied, "That's the only option available." Hearing these words, Third Old Master experienced a blend of anger and consolation. It wasn't that Xiao Yunduan had no intention of providing him with a more prestigious role or a better location, but he lacked the capability to do so himself. When he considered it carefully, no matter how much he spoke with the Crown Prince, he remained relatively young and inexperienced. Consequently, his influence wasn't particularly substantial. This realization eased his frustration somewhat, and he implored, "Fujian is truly quite distant. Could we consider another location?" Xiao Yunduan shook her head, affirming, "Fujian is the sole option." Naturally, the location couldn't be altered. Lu Min was also situated in Fujian, so Third Old Master Qiao could still be monitored from there. While Gu Zhio resided in the northwest, Qi was also in the northwest. This ruled out the possibility of allowing Third Old Master Qiao to relocate there. The primary objective was to keep as much distance as possible from the Qiao family. Though third old Master Qiao's anger flared intermittently, he found himself restrained by his circumstances. Nonetheless, he desperately yearned to leave Beijing. Very well, I accept Fujian. As a county magistrate. After all, he was an official, and this represented a substantial improvement over remaining in the capital. Xiao Yunduan remarked, then it's settled. Officer Qiao, if you work diligently, you may find yourself transferred to a more desirable post someday. It was best to let him dream. One dose of punishment followed by a promise of future reward. With hope to guide him, he would be more tractable. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1391. Watching over the Qiao family as anticipated, third old Master Qiao's eyes sparkled with joy. Thank you for your auspicious words, ha! Xiao Yunduan stated, Officer Qiao, please prepare yourself. The transfer order will arrive shortly after the new year. Understood. Officer Qiao, please ensure the utmost discretion in this matter. Keep it confidential, even from the Qiao family. It would be disastrous if anything were to befall Hengxing. Of course, keep a vigilant eye on individuals from your own family. I don't want a repeat of today's incident. Xiao Yunduan turned and departed, holding Qiao Xian's hand. Wife, let's return home. Qiao Xian nodded, a smile gracing her lips. Certainly. Release her, let's go. Sun Bai complied and instructed someone to release Concubine. They then departed alongside Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. With a smile, Xiao Yunduan handed an envelope to Sun Bai. It's the new year. Thank you, my brothers. Take this and enjoy a cup of hot tea. Sun Bai was somewhat reluctant. Sir, accept it, Xiao Yunduan insisted, smiling. It's the new year, my friends. Thank you for your hard work. Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao had always been exceedingly generous. While in their service, their employees received numerous perks and excellent treatment. They never had to spend their own money. Consequently, even though it was the new year, upon hearing of a task from Lord Xiao, there was no need for summons. Everyone willingly volunteered to come. They had wished to express their gratitude to Lord Xiao and his wife for their exceptional treatment. Little did they anticipate receiving even more benefits in return. After bidding farewell, Sun Bai smiled as he watched Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan board the wagon and depart. Thank you, Lord Xiao. The chorus of responses followed. Lord Xiao is too kind, indeed. We've received countless benefits in the past. It's only right to assist with this small favor. If Lord Xiao requires anything in the future, don't hesitate to call on me. Count me in too. Sun Baishao playfully scolded. Of course, you have no objections. You can't wait, can you? Laughter echoed among the group. The first speaker, a bit embarrassed, scratched his head and said with a smile, Boss, don't misjudge me. I don't mean anything else. I intend to say that we'll gladly help Lord Xiao. We want to accept the money next time. Sun Bai chuckled. Lord Xiao is too kind. All right. Let's find a spot to divide the money and celebrate the new year together. Mixed emotions of guilt and happiness filled the group as they quickly located a quiet alley and began to distribute the money. The envelope contained neatly stacked banknotes, 50 taels each, precisely enough for the number of people present. Everyone was left momentarily speechless by Lord Xiao's generosity. Sun Baishao sighed. Take your share and remember Lord Xiao's kindness. The group responded with laughter. How could we ever forget? With that, they bid each other cheerful farewells and went their separate ways. Curious, Qiao Xian turned to Xiao Yunduan and asked, What did you say to Officer Qiao? Xiao Yunduan smiled. I'm about to share my plan with you. Qiao Xian exclaimed with joy, That's wonderful. We won't have to encounter them anymore, preventing any more tricks. I was genuinely concerned about their actions. Now, there was no need to dwell on the matter. Xiao Yunduan grinned and said, I just recalled that Fujian province needed attention before the new year, so I'll resolve that matter within a couple of days. Sounds good. Let's not dwell on them. It's time to head home for the new year. Absolutely. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1392. Words after neutralizing a hidden threat, they breathed a sigh of relief. It was a perfect time to celebrate the upcoming new year. Qiao couldn't contain her joy, knowing that she wouldn't have to deal with that family for at least a few years. The way Third Old Master Qiao had looked at her earlier, with a facade of a caring father, had genuinely disgusted her. If she were still the original Qiao, if she hadn't transformed into the person she was today, Third Old Master Qiao wouldn't have even recognized her, let alone cared about her. So why was she still pretending? She couldn't find a single decent soul in the Qiao family. After leaving the Qiao family behind, Madam Lady Qiao impatiently asked Third Old Master, "What did that Qiao guy say to you just now?" Great Old Master Qiao, Second Old Master Qiao, and others also fixed their gazes on Third Old Master Qiao, all at once. Under their intense scrutiny, Third Old Master Qiao's heart raced, and he had an instinct to flee. Reflecting on Xiao Yunduan's warning not to disclose the transfer to the family, he began to understand. It was nothing. He inquired about Concubine Du, and I had to clarify things. Madam Lady Qiao huffed, her interest waning, and she retorted with irritation, "You're too soft. Who does this Xiao guy think he is? Even if you ignore him and don't show him any respect, what can he do to you? Humph, I'd like to see if he, the one who used to be your son-in-law, could harm you, his father-in-law." Father-in-law and son-in-law? Those words stung Third Old Master Qiao, and he felt a tinge of embarrassment. But it was his biological mother who had embarrassed him, leaving him little room for response. Third Old Master Qiao mustered a forced smile. "It's the Lunar New Year. It's better to clarify things. Why let others accuse us?" He directed an intense glare at Concubine Du, who remained bound on the ground, her mouth still gagged. "This mess is entirely that woman's fault." Old Master Qiao raised an eyebrow, expressing his doubt. "Third brother, are you sure Lord Xiao only inquired about Concubine Du? Did he mention anything else?" Third Old Master Qiao immediately became cautious. He put on a smile and replied, "Certainly not, elder brother. Do you think Lord Xiao had anything else to discuss with me? Speaking of which, was it even productive to be angry now? If they hadn't created a spectacle in the capital and taken actions into their own hands, perhaps he, his daughter, and her husband wouldn't have ended up in this situation today. If only Xiao Yunduan were still his son-in-law, he would be basking in glory, but he couldn't entertain such thoughts. The more he dwelled on them, the more remorseful he felt. The more he thought about it, the stronger the urge to unleash a torrent of curses. Old Master Qiao smirked. "Third brother, your tone is a bit excessive." "I observed that Lord Xiao didn't appear perturbed, and you seemed rather pleased. I thought you might be discussing something else." As soon as he said that, Madam Lady Qiao shot Third Old Master a piercing look. "Third brother, don't try to deceive us." "That's right, Third brother." Second Old Master Qiao chimed in with a smile. "If there's anything advantageous, you shouldn't keep it to yourself." Third Old Master Qiao found himself harboring an indescribable sense of disgust. He strained a smile and said, "Mother, elder brother, second brother, you needn't worry. We're family after all." Of course. Second Old Master Qiao snorted. "It's good that you understand. We've been dragged into this mess because of you. If it weren't for your daughter and son-in-law, our family wouldn't be in such dire straits." Third Old Master Qiao barely managed to hold back a torrent of curses. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1393. Really dumb. Madam Lady Qiao and the others voiced their agreement, venting their grievances for a while before departing. Third Old Master Qiao seethed with anger and instructed someone to remove Concubine Du. He intended to question her in detail. Back in the house, he ordered the servants to untie Concubine Du before she could catch her breath. Third Old Master Qiao delivered a brutal kick, causing her to scream and tumble to the floor. You wretched woman! The audacity of your actions! You've become quite bold. Daring to do something like this? Speak up, who ordered you to do it? Concubine Du, cold, hungry, filled with hatred and anger, was no longer afraid. She rose to her feet, laboriously fixing her gaze on Third Old Master Qiao, her eyes filled with contempt. Who do you think had the power and the nerve to give such orders? Don't you already know? Even if you do, I doubt you'd dare to utter a word. You. My Ko is suffering. As her mother, I am powerless, and you, as her father, are just as useless. Utterly useless. You can't even protect your own daughter. Oh, my dear Ko. How dare you? Third Old Master Qiao was so furious that his heart ached. He pointed at Concubine Du in a mixture of shock and anger. You vile woman! I never expected this of you. I misjudged you. No wonder you corrupted Ko so thoroughly. You and your daughter overestimated yourselves, attempting to climb the social ladder behind my back. In the end, you've only brought harm upon yourselves. Is that my fault? No matter how harshly I may have treated you over the years, you've still provoked someone I cannot afford to antagonize. Do you truly believe you can escape unscathed? You're living in a dream. No matter what happened to Third Girl today, she brought it upon herself. She can't place blame elsewhere for the bitter consequences of her actions. Do you think I wanted to? Concubine Du burst into tears. If Ms. Dong and Xiao Wei hadn't been so cruel and disdainful, we wouldn't have resorted to such measures. It's all Ms. Dong's fault. Your virtuous wife is entirely to blame. Concubine Du lashed out at Third Madame Qiao with ferocity for her past actions. Her eyes shot flames, her contorted face bore a venomous expression, and her vulgar words dripped with malice. Her rage left Third Old Master Qiao utterly dumbfounded. He was truly stunned. As he gazed upon the enraged Concubine Du, he quivered and felt a shiver run down his spine. Who were these people surrounding him? Was this the concubine he had cherished for so many years? The woman he had shared his bed with and treated tenderly? Concubine Du ranted to her heart's content, stopping only when she was breathless. She fixed a malevolent glare on Third Old Master. Her gaze left him in such shock that he almost took a step back. Then Concubine Du suddenly erupted into laughter. Retribution. It's all retribution. I bet Ms. Dong and Xiao Wei are tormented by their predicament, aren't they? That eldest young master is nothing more than a stray dog. Ha! Retribution. This is Ms. Dong's retribution. You, silence. Third Old Master Qiao scolded with anger. I think you've gone mad. So what? It's all your fault. You pushed me to do this. You wretch. Haha. Third Old Master Qiao glared at Concubine Du, feeling helpless. He could not possibly get her killed either. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1394. It's too late to say anything now. Contemplating Concubine Du's biting words about retribution, Old Master Qiao felt a deep sense of sorrow. Could it truly be retribution? Yet he also harbored a profound sense of injustice. What had he done to deserve this? He had done nothing. Thinking of his virtuous wife, Ms. Dong, Xiao Yunduan found her amusing and pulled her close for a kiss. All right, as you wish. If you ever encounter any difficulties, remember to inform me. You needn't resort to being a bad person, you'll handle it. Being an officer, Xiao Yunduan had the authority that demanded respect. The residents of the imperial city were both knowledgeable and tactful, and they understood the nuances of diplomacy. Qiao Xian responded with a smile. Xiao Yunduan's gaze grew intense as he held her tightly. It's getting late. let's take a break." Qiao Xian met his gaze, and her heart raced. She blushed and averted her eyes, whispering, "All right." Xiao Yunduan lifted her in his arms and headed back to the bedroom. In early summer, roses were in full bloom and durian flowers blazed with crimson. Peonies were also at their peak. During this splendid season, women in the capital often hosted various grand events to appreciate the flowers. Some had extended invitations to Qiao Xian, including the wives and daughters-in-law of Xiao Yunduan's colleagues or those connected to officials from the Crown Prince's faction. Social engagements were inevitable. While Qiao Xian preferred to prepare delicious meals at home and spend her husband's breaks exploring mountains, visiting lakes, and enjoying the landscapes of Yunshui town, she couldn't decline these invitations. Due to Xiao Yunduan's youthful promise and his high standing in the East Palace, the women always held back their true feelings around Qiao Xian. Some may have displayed their disdain through their attitudes, but none dared to voice it aloud. Qiao Xian, however, was never one to subscribe to such notions. She remained unruffled. The fact that Xiao Yunduan had turned down Tian Shanshan and chosen her was enough to arouse jealousy and resentment among many women for his sake. How could a concubine's daughter like her be so fortunate? Some even envied the financial success Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had achieved at such a young age since their arrival in the capital. They had purchased a house and over 1,000 mu of land. It was rumored that a small plate of strawberries at Jinquan restaurant cost nearly 1 tael of silver, and carrying more than 500 grams cost over 2 liang. Qiao Xian could supply more than 50 kilograms a day. How much could they potentially earn in a month? Some couldn't help but utter sour remarks in her presence, all of which Qiao Xian skillfully deflected with a smile. She preferred not to retaliate, as she didn't want to come across as confrontational. However, one day, someone visited the East Palace, and Princess Consort personally sent a message, informing her of their plan to visit the fourth prince's residence for a flower viewing event the next day. It was an invitation extended by the fourth Princess Consort. Qiao Xian couldn't decline Princess Consort's request, but inwardly, she felt a tinge of annoyance. What was the fourth Princess Consort's intent? If she genuinely wanted Qiao Xian as a guest, she could have simply sent an invitation. Yet, instead of mailing an invitation, she had Princess Consort deliver the message personally. While it was virtually certain, it wasn't appropriate to disclose it prematurely, lest they slip up. The two of them took the opportunity to give them lessons. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1395. Calling her fat. After Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian departed, the household responsibilities fell upon those remaining. They had to tend to the fields, particularly the potato crops. Songshi, Li Xia, and the others approached their tasks with confidence and determination. With the arrival of the new year, the usual round of social engagements began. The Princess Consort of the East Palace extended an invitation to Qiao Xian for a banquet. These gatherings typically revolved around familial ties, one's maternal family, and the husband's official standing. Given Xiao Yunduan's established position in the capital and Qiao Xian's presence at the Crown Prince's banquet during the Spring Festival, there was usually little concern about encountering troublemakers. However, Qiao Xian was quite reluctant to attend the East Palace banquet. It wasn't a social circle she could naturally fit into with her current status. The attendees of the Princess Consort's banquet were the cream of the crop among the capital's nobility. Yet, owing to their substantial contributions to the Crown Prince, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian found themselves on the guest list. The invitation from the East Palace couldn't be declined. Qiao Xian insisted on taking Li Xia along with her. As expected, the Princess Consort's guests comprised the prince's concubines, the consort of the prefecture lord, ladies from prominent noble families, and more. None of them were individuals Qiao Xian could afford to alienate. The fourth Princess Consort harbored a particularly unfavorable opinion of her. Upon seeing Qiao Xian, she immediately wore a disapproving expression and cast cold glances in her direction. Her distaste was unmistakable, much to the amusement of those less refined or those pretending not to notice. The fourth princess consort's evident dislike for Qiao Xian made her the subject of gossip and speculation. Aside from the princess consort's polite greeting, nobody paid her any mind. It was as though she were invisible and non-existent to the rest of the attendees. Nonetheless, she had openly insulted the fourth princess consort. While no one believed she held more status than the fourth princess consort, they didn't dare to provoke her. Qiao Xian breathed a sigh of relief. She paid no mind to their indifference. She had no interest in mingling with such individuals. It was far better to focus on her own affairs. After a tiresome half-day, the event finally came to an end. Farewells were exchanged with Princess Consort, and the guests began departing. As she was leaving, the fourth princess consort suddenly flashed a smile at Qiao Xian. "Lord Xiao, as the envoy who will be escorting the princess to her wedding, you'll be departing shortly, won't you?" Qiao Xian was taken aback but responded with a smile. "Yes, we're setting off on the 8th of March, 2 months from now." Madame Xiao has quite a good memory. The fourth princess consort chuckled, raising her eyebrows, and added with a knowing smile, "Then you'll have plenty of free time, and you can visit my residence." Qiao Xian smiled and replied, "Fourth princess consort, if my schedule permits, I'll certainly accept." The fourth princess consort made a dismissive sound and departed. She had extended an invitation, but she had also included a conditional clause. Who did she think she was? How arrogant! Observing the discontent on her master's face, Yun Chao recognized that Madame Xiao had been slighted. She tried to offer some reassurance with a smile. "Princess consort, there's no need to stoop to the level of such a rude person. We belong to different social tiers, so naturally, our speech and behavior differ. I don't mean to be impudent, but our maids are more disciplined than her." The fourth princess consort laughed and cast a glance at Yun Chao. "You're absolutely correct. I misspoke." She paused briefly, then spoke with an elegant smile. "Nonetheless, I simply don't like her. What can I say? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1396. Princess Shuangfu. Yun Chao smirked and responded, "You're absolutely right. Who is she, and what is her status? She should learn a lesson for her impudence. When Lord Xiao departs from the capital, we'll see who will support her." The fourth princess consort chuckled, feeling much more content. Indeed, when Xiao Yunduan left the capital, Ms. Qiao would have to face the consequences. It was quite exasperating. He Jiqing had proven herself to be rather inept. She had failed to make proper use of the Qiao family's readily available chess piece. If she stumbled once or twice, what purpose did she serve? It was no surprise that His Highness' dislike for her had grown steadily. The next moment, the 12 peak masters found that the space around them began to twist. Their own figures became smaller and smaller, almost turning into mesons. Above everyone's heads, a massive entity appeared. It was a starry sky wanderer Xuan, whose size was tens to hundreds of times that of a normal life planet. Under the condition that the 12 peak masters' figures were turned into mesons, the starry sky wanderer Xuan seemed even more like a splendid starry river, towering above and looking down at everyone. "We can't go on like this." The 12 peak masters trembled in spirit, realizing that if they didn't resist, their mental states would be destroyed, and then they would definitely be scolded by the teacher again. Thus, the 12 exerted their fullest strength in an explosion, seeking to resist the starry sky wanderer Xuan that seemed to crush down like the heavens. But the next moment, there was no longer a starry sky wanderer Xuan that resembled a splendid starry river between heaven and earth. The 12 peak masters' figures also returned to normal, and the twisted space quickly calmed down. However, the 12 peak masters did not dare to relax. Because, unknown to them, their teacher Qikuan Star Lord had already come by their side, standing behind everyone, looking down at the Qikuan main star below. As if observing someone. The great peak master, also at the 7th rank peak, likewise notice something. Is this the aura of breaking through to the 7th rank? Junior disciple, is junior disciple breaking through to the 7th rank? The great peak master muttered to himself, yet his voice rang in every peak master's ear. Breaking through to the 7th rank? 4th peak master's Wagu stared, dumbfounded and incredulous. Chikuan Star Lord glanced at the 4th peak master's Wagu and then at the other peak masters. As if to say, see? Now do you understand why I didn't call your junior disciple over? The 12 peak masters were utterly bewildered. Xiao Yunduan didn't entirely agree with this course of action, but he couldn't help feeling both pleased and concerned about it. He was pleased that the Crown Prince displayed a compassionate and humane side, but he also sighed because this situation could lead to complications. It would be perfectly fine if everything went smoothly, but in the event of any trouble, it wouldn't be a laughing matter. The following day, a disguised Princess Shuangfu left the palace with her maid, Biyun, and Auntie Si. They met Xiao Xian at a tea house. Princess Shuangfu occupied a private room by the window and watched the lively street scenes outside with genuine interest, her eyes filled with wonder. She was intrigued by everything around her. She would engage in light-hearted conversation with Biyun and Auntie Si, inquiring about a variety of topics. Despite Auntie Si being close to 40 years old, she had entered the palace at the tender age of 10. Over the years, she had left the palace only twice, and both instances had been strictly regulated, offering limited freedom. Many of Princess Shuangfu's questions stumped Auntie Si. Nonetheless, the mistress and her servants engaged in animated conversations, sharing laughter and mirth. Princess Shuangfu unexpectedly felt that she wasn't as opposed to this marriage as before. After all, she had no family or relatives in the Great Qin Empire. Transitioning to Qingdi was a possibility. Rumor had it that Qingdi was devoid of the rigid rules and restrictions she encountered in the palace. She envisioned herself no longer confined to a gilded cage. Princess Shuangfu couldn't wait any longer. She decided to leave the palace early, and as soon as Qiao Xian received word of this, she hurried to meet her. I didn't expect Miss Fu to come so early. Please forgive me for not receiving you at the doorstep. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1397. Temperous Qiao Xian closed the door. She offered an apologetic bow. She realized her own oversight. It was Princess Shuangfu's first time leaving the palace, and it was only natural that she was eager. This excitement had prompted her to arrive early. Princess Shuangfu instructed Biyun to help her with her outerwear and addressed Qiao Xian with a smile. Madam Xiao, there's no need to stand on ceremony. I may trouble you in the coming days. Please feel free to be yourself. Qiao Xian felt relieved and responded with a smile. Of course not, Miss Fu. If you have no objections, I won't hesitate to be less formal. Of course not. My brother mentioned that Madam Xiao is very easygoing, and it seems to be true. Madam Xiao, let's be at ease with each other. Princess Shuangfu remarked, smiling at Qiao Xian. Madam Xiao, no need for unnecessary politeness, just be yourself. You're absolutely right, Miss Fu. I'll gladly heed your advice. They shared a warm smile. Source, Novgo. Co-Princess Shuangfu mentioned, I didn't have breakfast this morning. Madam Xiao, do you have any suggestions for a meal? Qiao Xian suggested, Jinquan Pavilion has some delicious snacks. What flavor do you prefer, Miss Fu? Why don't we try them there? Princess Shuangfu displayed interest and replied, I'm not particular. I'm open to anything, Madam Xiao, please decide. I'd like to try a little of everything. Qiao Xian nodded with a smile. Pea yellow, sweet osmanthus, almond cakes, rhubarb rolls, Longjing green tea crisps, crab roe steamed buns, beef cereal, steamed dumplings with shredded chicken and winter bamboo shoots, fried radish cakes, and tofu pudding are all quite renowned. Shall we order a serving of each and 4 side dishes, as well as 4 appetizing sour and sweet preserves? Princess Shuangfu's interest grew, and she nodded with a smile. Certainly, that sounds delectable. Qiao Xian wore a warm smile as she inquired, "What type of tea do you prefer?" Princess Shuangfu responded with a smile, "Madam Xiao, I'm not particular. I'll gladly accept your suggestion." Qiao Xian contemplated for a moment and suggested, "How about a pot of jasmine tea?" "Sounds wonderful." Li Xia called the waiter over, and Qiao Xian proceeded to place the order for the tea and snacks. The waiter, attentive and cheerful, confirmed the order and assured them of a prompt delivery. Having previously supplied strawberries to Jinquan restaurant, Qiao Xian was recognized by the staff here, even though she didn't frequent the tea house often. The wait staff knew her as a valuable client they couldn't afford to displease, treating her with warmth and consideration. Princess Shuangfu expressed her envy, saying with a smile, "Madam Xiao, you must be a regular at this tea house. I envy you greatly. I've never had such casual conversations with anyone before." Qiao Xian was simultaneously amused and touched by the comment. She thought there was nothing to envy. However, Princess Shuangfu, despite being a princess, had lost her parents at a very young age and was not doted on. Though the crown prince treated her better than others, his attention was limited. After all, he was occupied with numerous responsibilities and matters. How could he remember to care for his half-sister? While Princess Shuangfu didn't have to worry about her basic needs, her days were monotonous and uneventful. She had only interacted with a select few individuals throughout her life, and her social circle was exceedingly limited. It wasn't surprising that she'd feel envious when observing others engage in carefree conversations. Qiao Xian couldn't delve into royal matters, so she offered a simple explanation with a smile. "I am acquainted with Jinquan restaurant because I own over 20 mues of land in the capital. I cultivated a significant quantity of strawberries last year, and I've been supplying them to Jinquan restaurant. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1398. Not going home, I obtained this delectable strawberry from a distant location, a unique and exquisite fruit that only I possess. It has an exceptionally limited supply, exclusively reserved for Jinquan Pavilion. Naturally, we have influential connections. It's a shame that the timing isn't quite right at the moment. Otherwise, you might find it equally delightful. Princess Shuangfu had never encountered strawberries before, and her curiosity was piqued. She smiled with regret and replied, "I understand. It's indeed unfortunate, but I suppose luck isn't on my side." Qiao Xian felt a jolt as she contemplated her impending marriage. Even though she wasn't the favored one, being a princess meant she would likely have a respectable union when the time came. As a princess, she could anticipate a relatively comfortable life at her husband's estate, unless she encountered extraordinary misfortune. Although Princess Shuangfu had accepted her fate, a part of her still yearned to remain in a familiar environment. This time, it seemed she might never return to the capital. Qiao Xian's heart skipped a beat, and she offered with a warm smile, "In my hometown, I have plenty of strawberry seedlings. They are incredibly low maintenance and grow rapidly. If you'd like, I can provide you with some seedlings to take with you." "Really?" Princess Shuangfu's eyes sparkled with surprise and delight. Source: Novgo. Seeing her reaction, Qiao Xian couldn't help but sympathize. She nodded enthusiastically, "Absolutely. That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Lady Xiao, thank you. I will arrange for someone to care for them." Her excitement was understandable. Nobody had ever bestowed such a gift upon her. Apart from her family's gifts, this was the first time someone had offered her a present. Qiao Xian, with a warm smile, reassured her, "No need to mention it, Miss Fu. I also have potatoes, which are quite a treat. Would you like some of those as well?" "Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Madam Xiao." Princess Shuangfu beamed with delight, her happiness evident. The refreshments arrived promptly, their presentation exquisite, with 4 small dishes on each plate. Despite the abundance of plates, it was just the right amount. With a warm smile, Qiao Xian gestured to Princess Shuangfu to begin with the chopsticks. These are all freshly prepared, Miss Fu, please enjoy. Madame Xiao, you should have a taste as well. Princess Shuangfu hadn't dined outside often, so while she never lacked for food and snacks in the palace, enjoying fresh food was a rare treat. Typically, the snacks from the imperial kitchen were no different from the previous days, and even in winter, the insulated food containers struggled to keep the food warm, necessitating reheating with a small stove before consumption. Today's meal was a welcome departure from the usual routine. Qiao Xian introduced the steamed crab roe dumplings, steamed buns, and shredded chicken with winter bamboo shoots to her. Princess Shuangfu's eyes sparkled, and she nodded with delight. This is incredibly fresh and delicious. I never expected such culinary expertise at this tea house. Qiao Xian smiled. Jinquan Restaurant is a renowned establishment in the capital, with a nearly century-old legacy of excellence. Miss Fu, don't miss out on the radish cake. It's equally delightful and best enjoyed while it's piping hot. Of course. Princess Shuangfu's appetite was fully awakened, and she savored each dish with genuine enthusiasm, offering praise for their flavors. As they shared their meal, their camaraderie grew stronger, and their conversation flowed more naturally. Qiao Xian felt relieved. Princess Shuangfu had a pleasant temperament. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1399. Shopping with the princesses were known for their simplicity and lack of pretense. This made Qingdi's journey accompanying her to the wedding far from exhausting. Princess Shuangfu expressed great interest in the strawberries that Qiao Xian had mentioned. Never having seen a vegetable garden before, she expressed a desire to visit Qiao Xian's place for a closer look. Qiao Xian readily agreed to this straightforward request. Moreover, her yard was impeccably kept, offering a safe and appealing destination. The two of them exited the tea house and promptly hailed a carriage. Unfortunately, the weather remained cold. While the entire garden was orderly, it was currently devoid of life, with the strawberry plants still concealed beneath a thick layer of straw for the winter. They would have to wait at least until mid-February for the weather to warm up, at which point they could remove the straw coverings. In the garden at this moment, only a handful of sweet osmanthus trees were adorned with a hint of green, while the fruit trees at the garden's perimeter stood barren. Despite this, Princess Shuangfu, on her first visit to this kind of place, maintained a keen interest. Everything felt new to her, prompting her to incessantly inquire of Qiao Xian, "What's this? What's its purpose? Will this tree bear fruit? Is it tasty? This area is for growing potatoes. I wonder what potatoes look like," and the like. She even ventured into the garden. Were it not for Auntie C and Bai Yun's intervention to prevent her, she might have even attempted to handle the hoe and iron rake herself, concerned that she might inadvertently harm herself. Qiao Xian found her curiosity quite amusing. She thought to herself that Princess Shuangfu had a rather agreeable personality. With her unpretentious and easygoing nature, she was certain to lead a contented life in Qingdi. Many noble women had never experienced anything related to farming or agriculture within their pavilions. Nevertheless, very few treated Princess Shuangfu with disdain, condescension, or contempt. Most heiresses, even if they were not pampered or had experienced difficulties at home, couldn't help but feel a sense of superiority as long as they retained their noble status. However, Princess Shuangfu's complete lack of concern for these rural matters was truly refreshing. Before they realized it, half a day had flown by. Qiao Xian and Princess Shuangfu went to the restaurant for lunch, embarked on an afternoon shopping spree, indulging in numerous snacks and making a plethora of purchases. Princess Shuangfu's enthusiasm for shopping was palpable. She desired everything she laid her eyes on, gleefully adding each item to her acquisitions. Rouge, powder, satin fabric, trinkets, needles, threads, embroidered sachets, dainty jewelry, and even a finely crafted bamboo basket all found their way into her shopping bags. And of course, there were a variety of delectable snacks, including sugar figurines, candied hawthorns, stir-fried chestnuts, roasted peanuts, 5-spice melon seeds, plum blossom cake, mung bean cake, and more. Her shopping addiction was evident in her sparkling eyes. Qiao Xian found herself torn between laughter and bewilderment but refrained from complaining. She accompanied her on this shopping adventure. The person accompanying them couldn't bear it any longer, so they summoned a guard to assist with the overwhelming number of purchases, placing them in a carriage conveniently parked nearby. After hours of shopping, they had accumulated so many items that they filled more than half of the carriages. It was a carriage brimming with a diverse array of goods. Of course, Princess Shuangfu couldn't take these items back to the palace. In fact, she couldn't even bring them past the palace gates. If she had been a favored figure, there might have been a chance to bring a few of these items in after a thorough inspection. The palace guards would discreetly overlook the rules and allow her entry. However, she wasn't in such a privileged position. Princess Shuangfu gazed at her purchases with a sense of resignation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1400. Princess Shuangfu is very nice. Princess Shuangfu flashed a warm smile at Qiao Xian. These items are of no use to me, so I'd like to give them to you, Madam Xiao. They are just trinkets, and am uncertain of their practicality. Please don't be concerned about them. Qiao Xian could discern that Princess Shuangfu secretly wished to keep these items, but she knew that these modest treasures were hardly fit for the refined environment of the royal palace. Bringing them in was an impossibility. Her heart quickened, and she leaned in closer to Princess Shuangfu, whispering with a soft chuckle, "Princess, aren't you going to leave the palace tomorrow? Why don't you return to my home? I'll place these items in a room today. Tomorrow, you can choose whatever you like. I'll have them packed and ready for you to take along when you depart the palace." Princess Shuangfu's eyes brightened with surprise and delight. Is that really possible? Qiao Xian couldn't make any guarantees but maintained a smile. "I can't say for sure, but we can certainly give it a try." After all, Xiao Yunduan held a position as the envoy, and they would be traveling together with their luggage, which meant they could bring at least a couple of boxes. Princess Shuangfu also realized that with Lord Xiao as the envoy, Qiao Xian might be able to assist her in this endeavor. Overjoyed, she took Qiao Xian's hands and expressed her gratitude, saying, "All right, let's give it a shot, Madam Xiao." "Thank you. You're very gracious, Princess." Calm with her spirits lifted, Princess Shuangfu bid farewell to Qiao Xian with a smile, then returned to the palace under the watchful eye of the guards. Upon his return home, Xiao Yunduan inquired about the day's events. Seeing his wife's contented expression, Qiao Xian replied with a smile, "Princess Shuangfu is truly kind-hearted, approachable, and humble. It was quite enjoyable shopping with her." Relieved by her words, Xiao Yunduan remarked, "Crown Prince mentioned that Princess Shuangfu possesses a gentle temperament. It appears to be true." "That's right. I've never gone shopping like that before and ended up buying a variety of knickknacks. I've stored them here for her. She'll visit our home today to make her selections. I'll pack them up for her later, so she can take them with her when she gets married." Xiao Yunduan stared at his wife, puzzled. "I'll never understand what you women are thinking." The following morning, Princess Shuangfu and her servant arrived as promised. Qiao Xian prepared breakfast at home, serving noodles and potato pancakes. Princess Shuangfu observed her busy in the kitchen, deeply intrigued by the preparation of noodles and potato pancakes in this manner. They complimented Qiao Xian for her impressive culinary skills. Qiao Xian was left torn between laughter and bewilderment. After breakfast, they proceeded to sort through the items. While Princess Shuangfu held a sentimental attachment to all the goods she had personally acquired and wished she could take them all with her, she recognized the impracticality of this desire. Consequently, she selected 2 boxes and handed them to Qiao Xian. With a smile, she addressed Qiao Xian, saying, "Madam Xiao, please don't forget to include the strawberries and potatoes as well." Qiao Xian nodded reassuringly. "Certainly, I won't forget." After some thought, Princess Shuangfu hesitated and said, "Madam Xiao, I would like to bring some other items, such as seeds, flowers, plants, vegetables, fruit trees, and more. I may not be knowledgeable about them, but I wish to bring as many as possible. Madam Xiao, could you assist me in preparing these as well?" Qiao Xian was taken aback by the unexpected request and felt a deep sense of respect for Princess Shuangfu's remarkable interest and ambition. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1401. That can't be better. Princess Shuangfu had grown up in the secluded palace, where such thoughts were a rarity, even if they happened by accident. In their era, maps were a precious commodity, not readily accessible to all. Families that possessed a map might risk being accused of conspiring to rebel. Although Qiao Xian had never laid eyes on a map, she had extensively questioned Xiao Yunduan about Qingdi's climate, cuisine, attire, accommodations, customs, and more. From this, she could deduce that Qingdi's situation was akin to the Tibetan region. Xiao Yunduan had brought an assortment of seeds. With proper care and a suitable planting location, there shouldn't be any issues. Qiao Xian nodded, sporting a warm smile. "Why not? I'll gather some seeds for you, label them with your name, and include information about the appropriate seasonal temperatures, moisture levels, and more, so you can have someone study them." Princess Shuangfu beamed with joy. "That's wonderful. Madam Xiao, thank you." With a hint of tears in her eyes, she whispered, "Madam Xiao, you're such a kind-hearted person, and I have no means to repay your kindness. The journey ahead is long and filled with uncertainties. But if our paths cross in the future, and there's anything I can do to assist you, I will do so without hesitation. Of course, I hope we never meet again." Calm married to a distant land, bereft of her mother's affection, her contentment was primarily dependent on the crown prince's kindness. Once she journeyed afar, the palace would eventually forget her existence. There would be no homecoming in this lifetime, barring the unlikely scenario of Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan venturing to Qingdi. However, Qingdi wasn't a favorable destination for such a journey. Why would they undertake such a voyage for no compelling reason? Qiao Xian consoled her, saying, "Princess, please don't dwell on such thoughts. The future is full of uncertainties, and one never knows what might transpire. Perhaps the Prince of Qingdi will come to the capital in a few years to meet the Emperor, and you could accompany him. That's not out of the question." Hearing these words, Princess Shuangfu felt a measure of relief and offered a gentle smile. "You're right. With Madame Xiao's blessings, who knows what possibilities lie ahead? We might just get that chance." They exchanged warm smiles, their newfound friendship growing stronger. Princess Shuangfu extended her stay at Qiao Xian's home, even for lunch. While Qiao Xian prepared the meal, Princess Shuangfu watched with keen interest and excitement, occasionally exclaiming and complimenting Qiao Xian's culinary skills. The mouth-watering aroma wafted through the air, making her appetite ravenous. If Auntie C hadn't intervened, she would have been tempted to lend a helping hand. For lunch, Qiao Xian prepared a few homemade dishes: double-cooked pork, roasted chicken with potatoes, stir-fried beef slices, a steamed meat platter, cabbage with vinegar, and fish head soup with tofu. Princess Shuangfu's eyes lit up, and the delectable scents were positively irresistible. Having never experienced the spicy kick of chili before, she found herself captivated by the pot of pork and cabbage with vinegar, relishing the newfound spiciness. She inquired of Qiao Xian why she included chili in these two dishes, and then she expressed her delight, saying, "This chili is so wonderful, such a delightful surprise. Madam Xiao, you must provide me with some chili seeds." Qiao Xian nodded, her smile unwavering. After a moment's contemplation, she proposed, Why don't I draft some recipes for you to take along, princess? I can even have the chef prepare them as per the instructions. You don't have to adhere to them strictly, just use them as a reference. Princess Shuangfu was thrilled by the idea and showered Qiao Xian with gratitude. In the afternoon, they embarked on another shopping excursion. Yesterday, they had explored a vibrant marketplace replete with delectable treats and small items, where they had encountered bustling crowds. Today, Qiao Xian led Princess Shuangfu to an opulent shopping street. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1402. Plan well. The bustling street was adorned with high-end silk shops, embroidery ateliers, cosmetics boutiques, calligraphy and painting galleries, as well as shops offering metal and stone toys and exquisite jewelry, among other treasures. Princess Shuangfu observed the vibrant scene with great interest. Yet, her shopping frenzy of the previous day had waned. Firstly, her initial enthusiasm had dwindled. Secondly, although the wares displayed in today's shops were undeniably captivating, she had been exposed to a wealth of opulent items in the palace, making these goods seem less enticing by comparison. Thirdly, she was aware that these items were substantially costlier than those she had encountered the day before. While the princess consort had encouraged her to explore and acquire whatever she fancied, purchasing jewelry and exquisite embroideries costing thousands of taels of silver would hardly be well received. On the following day, Qiao Xian accompanied her to the flower and bird market and the farmer's market, where they selected various seeds. They enjoyed lunch at a restaurant and spent the afternoon at a temple. Princess Shuangfu entered the temple with deep devotion before returning to the capital. 3 days had passed swiftly, leaving Princess Shuangfu filled with reluctance. Madame Qiao, I am fortunate to have had your company these past 3 days, exploring the prosperous and lively capital. I've seen so many beautiful, delectable, and fascinating things. I have no more regrets. These 3 days and you, Madame Qiao, will forever remain in my memory. Come, take good care, Madame Qiao. With these parting words, they realized that they might never cross paths again. As Princess Shuangfu approached Qiao Xian, her eyes brimmed with tears. Unbeknownst to her, Qiao Xian intended to escort her to Qingdi. Although Qiao Xian harbored her own sadness, she couldn't disclose the possibility of their future reunion. She mustered a smile and responded, "Take care, princess. It's been a privilege to explore the capital alongside you, and I'll cherish this time we've spent together. Wishing you a long and prosperous life." Princess Shuangfu nodded with tears glistening in her eyes. Likewise, Madame Qiao. Reluctantly, the two of them bid farewell, and Princess Shuangfu finally entered her carriage and made her way back to the palace. Observing her melancholic demeanor, Auntie Sis' heart ached. She mustered a smile and offered some reassurance. "Princess, these past few days of shopping were a rare and joyful experience for you. Try to find happiness in it." Princess Shuangfu mustered a smile in response. "Aunt, you're absolutely right. As a princess, I have little choice but to accept many things. Now that this marriage has been arranged for me, I must face it with composure. I must make adequate preparations. There was no time for sadness." After all, the marriage was a done deal, unalterable. She would eventually need to confront it. It was wiser to approach the situation with a level head, strategizing to secure as much dowry as possible for herself. For women, while dowry couldn't resolve all post-marital challenges, it could certainly alleviate most of them. Naturally, the more, the better. As Princess Shuangfu departed, Qiao Xian couldn't help but feel a tinge of disappointment, letting out a sigh. Marriage to a distant land was rarely a joyful affair. Thankfully, the princess possessed an optimistic and easygoing nature. With such a disposition, she would likely find a more satisfying life. Following the Lantern Festival, the festive spirit gradually dissipated, and life returned to its usual pace. Those assigned to yamen duty took up their responsibilities, while those involved in trade resumed their business activities. Qiao Xian had procured a variety of seeds for Princess Shuangfu. Vegetables, grains, and fruit trees were among her selections. She had wood elemental superpowers. She could tell at a glance if one seed was good or bad. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1403. Set off within 10 days with her wood elemental superpower, these seeds were almost certain to thrive, unless subjected to extreme weather conditions. If the climate remained favorable and the temperature and humidity stayed within the right range, they would flourish even more. Princess Shuangfu contemplated this as she happened upon Qiao Xian, who was more than willing to assist her. Such a connection between them was a rare and auspicious twist of fate. On the 17th day of the first lunar month, Xiao Yunduan privately contacted Old Master Qiao to inform him that the transfer order would arrive in a few days. He could start preparing for his new position as county magistrate in Fujian and would be able to depart in 10 days. Officer Qiao felt a brief moment of disappointment upon hearing this news, briefly entertaining the thought of reneging on his commitment. However, he swiftly dismissed such notions and sighed, saying, "Very well, I understand." Though he held reservations about relocating to a distant place like Fujian, it still offered opportunities for career advancement. This prospect outweighed languishing in the capital, waiting for stagnation. Thankfully, he didn't have extensive preparations to make, nor were there numerous relatives and friends to host farewell gatherings. There was also no need to expend significant time and energy on official affairs. While the 10-day time frame was somewhat pressing, it was manageable. Xiao Yunduan added, "One more thing. Liu Yan served in Shaoding village for a while, and my wife grew quite fond of her. She intended to purchase her from you but was delayed. As you're heading to Fujian, you won't require her services. Would you be willing to sell her to us?" Calm with a pause, Third Old Master Qiao recalled who Liu Yan was. "It's not a problem. They'll have her sent to your residence later. There's no need to make a fuss." He couldn't help but feel a sense of gratification. What did this request imply? It signaled that Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan still held him dear as their father. Xiao Yunduan was determined not to become entangled with the Qiao family. "Just proceed with the purchase. I'll pay you 20% more than the market price. It's best if other members of the Qiao family remain unaware of this, to avoid unnecessary gossip." Third Old Master Qiao's gaze dimmed, and he sighed before reluctantly agreeing, "Very well, remember to provide her indenture." Of course. Third Old Master Qiao didn't think much of what a maid might accomplish, so he consented to Xiao Yunduan's request. His greater concern was how to inform his family. However, only 10 days remained, and he needed to finalize preparations, pack his belongings, arrange transportation, and bid his farewells. He couldn't afford to delay or waver, so he made his announcement without further hesitation. After dinner, Third Old Master Qiao mustered his resolve and calmly informed the Qiao family of his impending transfer to Fujian. As expected, this revelation stirred a whirlwind of reactions. "What? You just returned, and now you're leaving again? Why are you going away, third brother? What's the reason? Why wasn't this discussed earlier? Why the sudden urgency? Third brother, just be honest. Does this have anything to do with that Xiao person?" When the name Xiao was mentioned, Lady Qiao glared at him. "Third brother, is it because of that Xiao?" Third Old Master Qiao maintained his composure. "Mother, how could that be? I, too, found this development rather abrupt, but the transfer order is on the verge of issuance. I thought it best to comply. With a few more years outside, I might even be promoted to magistrate. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1404. The Qiao family's scheme. Old Master Qiao scoffed, casting a disparaging glance at him. You make it sound so facile. The disparity between a prefectural magistrate and a county magistrate was substantial. How many individuals had to endure a lifetime as county magistrates? It wasn't as simple as promotion. He lamented, "It's a shame. Xiao is on the brink of leaving the capital as an emissary, leaving only Ms. Qiao in the intermediate. Ms. Qiao is a woman, what does she comprehend? What knowledge does she possess? I was contemplating a means to bring Ms. Qiao back, mainly for third brother and third sister-in-law's sake." Madam Lady Qiao chimed in immediately, "Your elder brother is correct, third brother. You must not go. I'm convinced that Xiao is behind this. He likely orchestrated your departure from the capital deliberately to keep you from visiting that wretched girl." The entire Qiao family unanimously agreed with comments such as, "Indeed, I share that suspicion," and more. Qiao Xian was the daughter of third Old Master Qiao, and her lineage remained unchanged. They refused to believe she could be so cold and unfeeling. Her past grudges against the Qiao family over the years would soon dissipate, as the family had suffered hardship repeatedly. If third Old Master Qiao and Mrs. Dong humbled themselves, spoke kindly to her, offered consolation, and feigned vulnerability, Qiao Xian would undoubtedly soften. They were confident that Xiao Yunduan would treat her well in the future, and she would have her family's support. If Xiao Yunduan mistreated her, the elders would intervene. It was virtually impossible for her not to be swayed. Moreover, Xiao Yunduan was currently absent from the capital, leaving no one to stand in their way. They were almost certain of their success. The caveat was that third Old Master Qiao and Mrs. Dong needed to take action. No one else in the Qiao family could accomplish this. The sudden release of third Master Qiao led the Qiao family to suspect that Xiao Yunduan was the mastermind behind it. Given Xiao Yunduan's influence in the Crown Prince's circle, manipulating such matters would be relatively straightforward. Madam Lady Qiao grew increasingly incensed the more she pondered this. That Xiao fellow is so crafty and malicious. If not for him, we wouldn't be in this situation. That wretched girl might have already had a change of heart. The Qiao family shared her sentiment. Which woman would willingly sever ties with her own family? Who wouldn't yearn for the security of a family to rely on? Third Old Master Qiao felt worn out. He sighed and reasoned, "Mother, elder brother, second brother, sister-in-law, this is a decision made by the imperial court. There's no way to alter it." Madam Lady Qiao sneered. "Find a solution. What can you do?" "You could say that I'm unwell, and you need to stay and care for me," second Old Master Qiao proposed. "Alternatively, third brother, if you were to feign a severe injury and claim you're immobilized, who could compel you?" Agreed. Third Old Master Qiao's face turned pale with frustration. He retorted, "I want to go as well. There are opportunities to seize when I'm away. I refuse to remain a minor official. Furthermore, Qiao Xian isn't easily deceived. She shares no father-daughter bond with me, and certainly none with Mrs. Dong. Even if Xiao Yunduan departs the capital, that won't change anything. Forget about it." Second Old Master Qiao jeered, "That remains to be seen. What if she encounters a predicament and our family helps her resolve it? What if she faces a crisis and you sustain severe injuries while attempting to save her? How could she remain indifferent?" Third Old Master Qiao was rendered speechless. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1405. Stunned, what were his family's thoughts about him? Third Old Master Qiao, unable to contain his frustration any longer, uttered in a cold tone, "Back then, you made the decision to sever ties with her without even informing me. Now, you wish to acknowledge her once more. Is such a stroke of luck even possible in this world? Surely, you've crossed paths with her before. Do you genuinely believe she's easy to influence? Do you think she can be swayed so effortlessly? Furthermore, Xiao Yunduan's rise isn't solely attributed to his connection with Minister Old Yun. He is a formidable individual to reckon with. If he's the reason for my reassignment away from the capital, he must have anticipated how our family might respond to Qiao Xian after his departure. Even if I decide not to leave, can you assure me that he won't have alternative means to deal with us? Do you possess the certainty to manage the situation? This marked the first time that Third Old Master Qiao had engaged in such an extensive conversation with his family, and his words left the entire Qiao family in a state of bewilderment. For a moment, they stood there, lost for words, grappling with an unexplained sense of shame and guilt. Calm, third brother. Madam Lady Qiao snapped back to her senses. All right. You've grown quite audacious, haven't you? How dare you speak to me in such a manner? Third Old Master Qiao shook his head, his heart heavy with desolation. He sighed and stated, "In any case, my decision is made. I've conveyed what I needed to. If you doubt me, there's little more I can do. You're on your own." With that, Third Old Master Qiao turned and departed. Madam Lady Qiao was infuriated, slamming her hand on the table. "Ungrateful wretch. You think you can just leave like that? Dream on." An awkward silence enveloped everyone in the room. Third Old Master Qiao's words had truly struck a nerve. Second Mrs. Qiao softly murmured, "It's easy for third brother to speak that way. If you ask me, it's partly his fault. If he had written to us earlier about that Qiao girl, we wouldn't have severed ties so hastily. We share the blame for not communicating." "That's true." Others joined in with their thoughts before quietly retreating to ponder their own concerns. Third Madam Qiao had been preoccupied with her health issues and was absent when Third Old Master Qiao returned. Upon his arrival, he instructed her to prepare for departure. All three branches would be leaving the capital with him. Xiao Yunduan hadn't requested him to go alone. He was resolute about ensuring the third branch members left the capital. There was no room for negotiation. Third Madam Qiao had long been dissatisfied with their current circumstances, and nothing seemed to be going their way. Upon learning of the impending relocation, she hesitated only briefly before making up her mind to go, despite Fu Zhen's remoteness. In the presence of the county magistrate's wife, everyone showed deference and flattery, which was preferable to staying in the capital and enduring mistreatment. The remote location was a minor concern. None would dare to disregard the authority of the county magistrate's wife. However, thoughts turned to Qiao Wei's family. At this point, Third Madam Qiao felt conflicted once again. Qiao Wei was no longer a child. If she accompanied the old master, she would only be able to rely on the people over there. But what if the old master decided to relocate her? What would happen to Qiao Wei then? Leaving her behind meant they would be separated, with little chance of seeing each other. If any issues arose, Third Madam Qiao wouldn't be able to provide assistance. However, if he took Qiao Wei with him, where could they find a suitable marriage for her in such a short time? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.